right, guys, we are live. What a weekend it has been. What a weekend it has been. Yeah, where were you when the strikes hit Iran yesterday?
Me?
Yeah.
I was on my couch watching Veep.
Yeah, no, I was just I was on my couch.
My fiance said, "Oh shit," and then told me the news because she was on her phone, and yeah, I was not, to be honest, I was not surprised.
No, I was expecting it this weekend. Yeah. I Seymour Hersh said it was going to happen this weekend, and he's been wrong before, but I think all signs were kind of pointing towards it happening this weekend. So,
and just kind of knowing his mentality, like in his mind, bombing another country is low commitment, which is pretty insane. It's a pretty insane world, if you can say that, right?
Yeah.
And we knew that he was going to do whatever to assist Israel, short of, in the moment, putting quote unquote boots on the ground. So this is low commitment. Why wouldn't he do it, given just the general bellicosity of the American ruling class, and especially the one in power right now? So yeah, hardly surprising. It's I wonder if Rob is on the stream right now. You know, if he wants to shoot some messages or whatever. But I mean, it's not clear where things are going to go from here, to be honest.
Yeah, I think there's two kind of narratives going around about the strike itself. One where Israel kind of drags Trump into a strike that he doesn't want to do, but it's he has to do it anyway because he's controlled by Israel or whatever. Then there's another narrative that I think makes a bit more sense, which is that him and Benjamin Netanyahu, which he himself called a team, had been planning this together for a while, and that there was kind of a lot of theater with Witkoff and Vance and a lot of these people kind of portraying Trump as being a bit more maybe belligerent about getting involved than he really was. But the reality of the situation is that this was something that U.S. policymakers, I think, were okay with. And
yeah, I mean, the truth is that it's kind of like anything Israel does, more or less, the U.S. is okay with. Behind closed doors, there might be some criticism, but whatever Israel does, America will come behind like a lapdog and do whatever Israel needs or wants. So, yeah, who knows if it was premeditated or whether or not, in a kind of ad hoc way, America came after the fact to help Israel. It kind of doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
The truth is that long-term confrontation with Iran was going to happen, right? I mean, that's been the language and the policy and the vision, more or less a bipartisan vision for a long time, that there was going to be some kind of confrontation with Iran. And the only kind of, I guess, from what I know, the only spokes put in the wheel was, to the credit of Obama, right, was the nuclear deal made under
right.
You know, I mean, beyond that, it's been nothing but bellicosity and threats. So it's hardly surprising. It is worth looking, though. Well, I mean, maybe it is worth discussing a bit what's been going on since the initial strike by Israel. From what we understand, I mean, there's many sources that I could point people to. I was listening to stuff by Radio Warner. They had pretty good reporting on what was going on. There's been a lot of focus on the military character kind of it. What missiles are being launched, where they're being launched, how big these missiles. Everyone's all of a sudden turning into it's aeronautical engineers. And
there's a lot of armchair generals who are speaking up and becoming experts on military strategy. I'm not one of those people.
I don't pretend to be.
Yeah, I don't pretend to be one of those people. I just watch and listen to people who know more about these things than me and try to focus on the broader political dynamics.
Yeah. I mean, like, so for instance, like there was a Reuters report where they were talking about the B-2 stealth bomber that was used to hit these nuclear sites, the 3 nuclear sites. And the thing read like it was like a specs manual for this thing. It has this wing length and this can be disguised from this radar frequency at this wavelength. And it's like, it's just like, did fucking Northrop Grumman write this shit? Like, what is? Why do I?
Yeah,
Why?
all this stuff comes off as them like writing advertisements for these toys.
Yeah, it really does. Look how awesome this thing is. It's like, well, like, okay, but they use it once a year, and from what, like, I think the Reuters report said it was $2 billion per plane. I mean, it's insane. An object worth $2 billion that's used once every 20 fucking years to bomb a facility that, like, whose issue you could easily resolve with reasonable diplomacy, right? So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
pretty shocking.
Well, the issue with Iran is Israel wants to become the regional power in the Middle East.
Yeah.
That means that Iran cannot have a nuke. Obviously, if Israel wants to be the regional power, it has to be has to have a nuclear monopoly, right? But at the same time, Iran, they are trying to do this nuclear deal where they want to make a deal where they're not going to build nuclear weapons, and in exchange, they'll get the sanctions lifted, which means that Iran will be able to grow economically, which means that that's another thing that Israel can't tolerate if it wants to be the regional hegemon in the Middle East.
Yeah.
So no matter what happens with regard to a nuclear deal, Israel wants regime change in Iran. They want to destroy any kind of stable sovereign regime in Iran that's not going to be completely subservient to the global imperialists.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's the major point is that it has nothing to do with really their fears of the Iranian regime acquiring a nuclear weapon.
right.
It has more to do with the fact that they're afraid of the Iranian regime being normalized, and being normalized, the Iranian bourgeoisie having access to the global financial system, the dollar system. And given that Iran has massive population, highly educated population, lots of natural resources, it would very quickly grow in capitalist terms in a way where it would be very much the dominant economic power along with Turkey, right, in the region. And Israel can't have that, right? What it wants is, and we were talking about this last time, is just it wants a total balkanization of the region. It wants a bunch of little fiefdoms like fighting over each other
Exactly.
and chaos. It wants to be the droplet of order in a sea of chaos.
Yeah.
So
the mosaic theory is,
yeah. So that it's pretty clear, quote unquote, why they wanted to do this. There's been other reports that, like, for instance, Netanyahu was starting to lose confidence, and in his typical kind of survival mode, hit the launch button on the rockets in order to consolidate his rule. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's an accurate assessment. I wouldn't be surprised if that was definitely part of the strategy. Yeah. Netanyahu very much is like that kind of political animal in a way where he just does whatever to survive in the moment, and it's just like decisions are made on a daily basis to just get around court problems and corruption charges and collapse of confidence. So I really wouldn't be surprised. It is, however, worth looking at how the American ruling class is reacting. Well, I should say the political class. On the right, things have been kind of divided. From what I can tell, the elite of the right-wing political class seems to be actually very much into this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's little, at least publicly, dissidence. It comes more from sort of the quote-unquote populist right. However, it seems like a lot of the base of the right wing are just like not into it. Like they're really not into it. Whether it's the more kind of vanilla style right wing or the populist right, they're really not into it.
Yeah, I've definitely been watching what's going on with the right. Obviously, the Groypers, the Nick Fuentes right, the hard right are not on board with this. They, they're calling Trump, Zion Don, which is, obviously
Kind of funny.
obviously correct. There was the interview with, Tucker Carlson turning on Ted Cruz, turning on.
He owned him. We should play that clip, bro.
Yeah, we should. I'll bring some of that up right now, but
yeah. No, he fucking owned him, dude.
Right. So there is a small. I wouldn't overstate how huge it is, but because I was looking at it, and polling has been kind of contradictory because some polling shows like I saw one that was like only 16% of the population support going to war with Iran. There was another poll where it was like actually surprising how many Trump voters were okay with this. So there is a factor where I think social media is maybe making the MAGA dissent looking bigger than it actually is. But there definitely is dissent. I mean, the fact that Tucker Carlson roasted Ted Cruz about this. And you have like Alex Jones, who already flip-flopped on this, by the way. Alex Jones, him and Tucker Carlson were teaming up, being like, we're gonna, speak up to Trump and stop him from bombing Iran and stand up for real America first or whatever. But then I think Alex Jones has already folded, and he's already like, well, actually, maybe we do need to do this. And Trump he's doing this to stop the war. He's doing what he has to do to stop the war or whatever. So there's already a lot of cope.
The cynical truth about this, about like what these kind of like America first people don't get is that U.S. might basically rests on two things. It's insane military and bellicosity. So not just the fact that they have a huge military, but that they use it wantonly. Right. And secondly, the dollar system, the financial system. Like there is the core of American power is not some like magnificent industrial base staffed by, fucking Bob the Builder type people. It's military, its willingness to project its might, and the dollar system, the SWIFT system, right? So it's like you guys can't have it both ways. America first and then be not quote unquote internationalist. They very much are internationalists. Like American might is internationalist and being imperialist, right? It needs to bully others to be great.
Well, it's funny too because now we're doing this whole thing where it's like, well, Trump decide. The great thing is Trump gets to decide what's America first, not you hogs. You guys don't get to decide what America first is. So Trump decides that bombing Iran for Israel is America first. That means
it's basically the Führerprinzip, right?
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's basically the Führerprinzip, which is in any contested problem, the Führer is the sovereign that decides, right? So yeah, that's great thinking. He's basically God, right? It's infallibility. But yeah, we need to find this Tucker because I'm
gonna bring it up real quick.
I just watch it over and over again, and I just feel so good inside, to be honest. It's kind of sick also that the only pushback I've seen. I just watched some person on CNN interviewing Marco Rubio about the bombings. No pushback. Only pushback.
Yeah, CNN has been pure war propaganda.
Yeah, the only pushback we see is from Tucker Carlson. What the and then people wonder why people don't trust commercial media. Come on.
Yeah, and it's like
I don't know the population. You don't know how many people live in Iran, by the way? I don't know the population at all. No, I don't know the population. You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple? How many people live in Iran? 92 million. Okay. Yeah. How could you not know that?
I just guessed,
I don't sit around memorizing population tables. Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government. Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant? Because if you don't know anything about the country... I didn't say I don't know anything about the country. What's the ethnic mix?
You don't know anything.
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay,
it's not even. You don't know anything about Iran.
So
Okay,
actually,
I am not
country,
the Tucker Carlson
No, but
expert on Iran.
You're a
who
senator
says,
who's calling
okay,
for the
you're the one who
overthrow of the
claims,
government.
You're the
and
one
you
who
don't know
claims
anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump.
No,
You're the
I'm
one
not
who
saying that.
you can't figure out if it was a
You
good
don't
idea to kill
believe-
General Soleimani, and you
don't
said it was bad.
believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really
we're
believe that,
carrying out military strikes today.
you said Israel was.
Right, with our help.
Yeah,
I said Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not
at all.
bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
This is
Israel.
high stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Hey,
Bro, I love it. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, everyone has been commenting on it, so we shouldn't spend too much time. A lot of other people have talked about this, but wow.
Yeah, no, it's worth it just to react, though. Like, it really is just that.
It's incredible. The
The
ignorance.
thing about Tucker is, like, he actually is a skilled journalist.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I
Like,
guess
he's
it's
good at interviewing people and putting them under pressure, and
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the most important thing someone can do. Right.
he just uses it for evil most of the time, or just not even evil, just like stupid shit, like interviewing some like random guy who claimed that he like smoked crack with Obama and had gay sex with him or something like that.
Yeah,
just like
crazy shit like that.
just, or ancient aliens, or just like talking about stupid shit. So like
that's fair. Yeah.
So that way Trump can just be like, oh, kooky Tucker Carlson doesn't think that it's in our interest to bomb a country whose slogan is "Death to America" that wants to build a nuke. Well, to me, I think it's pretty America first to stop a country that says "Death to America" from having a nuclear weapon. It sounds like that's pretty America first to me. Like that's the argument they're going with.
God, it must be so easy just trading in simplicity. You don't have to analyze anything. You just say whatever and it's fact.
Yeah.
It's a very frustrating reality, right?
America first, America first. It's like, this just shows how stupid and vacuous like the slogan "America first."
Yeah, really. It does.
You can mean anything.
It can mean anything. Yeah.
But one thing I do want to say is like, there's an argument as like, well, is this in America's interest or Israel's interest? Why are we doing this in Israel's interest? And I think like a lot of this geopolitical foreign policy, foreign realism talk, it does kind of beg the question of what are the interests? How do we define these interests, and where do these interests come from? Right?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is just sort of like, I'm gonna sound pretentious, but we've been Machiavelli pilled recently.
Right.
What's the element of just fortuna, right? Just more or less just chance and chaos. And why are these things happening? It comes down to the pure arbitrariness of Trump feels like it, right? Why he takes the decisions he does, I don't even think he's fully master of his own thought process. So how the hell how to make sense of it? The goal for us as analysts, so to speak, is understanding that arbitrariness and trying to contextualize it. What is the history that allows, what is the machinery that's been built up that allows one single capricious moron to press the button and bomb another country, right? That I think that's where the onus is on explaining what's going on, right? Because otherwise, you're just hypothesizing about what is the mental process of this or that actor.
Right.
That presupposes, one, that we have access to their private thoughts and to their lives in general, and two, that their private thoughts are well reasoned, that they're masters in their own home. And I just don't think that's the case. I really think that Trump is a creature of the moment, dude. Like, honestly. Who the fuck? Maybe he made an agreement with Netanyahu 2 weeks ago. We're going to do this. But in the interim, who knows how many flip-flops he's made and how many different decisions so that's what I kind of find weird about, like, you kind of, you take this abstraction America and then you try to attribute to it various interests, and then you try to see like America embodied in this one person, and then you try to hypothesize their psychological process. It's just not very good methodology, you know. The truth is that like who the fuck knows? Like who knows what
Yeah.
Trump thinks? It is worth though thinking about the people kind of around him, and one trying to look in the long term at kind of what his thought process is through his various statements on the Middle East, and then looking around at the various people around him and their thought process and their statements about the Middle East. One thing is for certain, hawks have wanted a confrontation with Iran for the longest time, you know, and it's not just reducible to Israel.
Yeah.
Why that is, you'd have to ask the neocons and what those fucking people, why they, you know, part of it might just be revenge for the hostage crisis. It really might be that simple. Who knows? Or the fact that in the Iran-Iraq war, they weren't able to eliminate the Islamic Republic, right? Who knows? I mean, that might have been part of the reason why, for instance, Bush wanted to eliminate Saddam, right? They couldn't get rid of him. And it was seen as one more thing that I mean, there are plenty of reasons that they did, but you know, so it's not entirely clear why this happened. You know, trying to do like armchair psychology about Trump. Good luck.
Right. I guess my kind of thesis is that like U.S. and Israeli interests have kind of merged into one thing, and there's a project of reshaping the Middle East into this, you know, this new fortress basically for quote unquote Western civilization.
Yeah, but who are you attributing that to? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it Trump?
Right? I guess this faction of the ruling, this specific faction of the ruling class that I think does want to like return to more aggressive colonialism and imperialism.
Well, that certainly is like the, you know, the neocons, and they've been around for a long time. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, that has been a project for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's pretty clearly embodied in a set of people and institutions, both within the state and outside the state, you know, both within the military and outside the military. So that's fair. I mean, the main thing at this point, though, is like, why is, I really do think here, though, let's be clear. Israel was supposed to be, in a sense, the attack dog of the U.S., right? The beachhead for U.S. imperialism. In that sense, it was supposed to act in a way that was beneficial towards U.S. interests, economic, political, diplomatic. I think it is fair to say, though, that at this point, the genocidal actions of Israel and the expansionist aspects of actions of Israel at this point have constituted a liability for the U.S. because not only is it money down the drain for them to do heinous war crimes against humanity, it's completely diplomatically isolated the U.S. in a way that the U.S. probably didn't even suffer during Vietnam, man, which is crazy to say, right? So I think at this point, it's pretty clear that Israel has some kind of influence over top decision makers, which is not just. I think it has an influence over them. It's not just a cooperative effort. It has some kind of power over them, and it's not just some cooperative effort. And it's very hard to see. That being said, this might be an instance where you could say that the U.S. Some people around Trump, like the neocon types, maybe see this as an opportunity to realize on a project that they've wanted to accomplish for a long time, which is destroying Iran, right? Getting rid of the Islamic Republic, getting rid of anything that seems nominally oppositional to U.S. power in the region, which is what probably the neocons see in Iran, right? Mm-hmm. Plus, there's just the simple fact that Iran has like a lot of fucking gas and oil. And if you can, if you can control the spigots of gas and oil, I mean, you have a massive power in the world economy, right? If you can make sure that not just Saudi Arabia in the Middle East can fuck prices, that's a big deal. Okay, yeah. Let's move.
But yeah, we got a Black Red Guard on now, ready to come on. Hey,
Oh,
what's
thank
up?
God I almost fell a fucking sleep.
Nah.
Listen.
All right,
What's up,
well,
yo?
why don't you hit us up with some wisdom then? Who's in control here? Who's calling the shots?
Who's calling the
Is it
shots?
America or Israel? Are we getting dragged in the war, or is America,
Well, the thing is, when you talk about Israel, you have to talk about America. Like, we can't go in for like a lot of people. They're politically confused, and they're like, "Oh my God, Israel is running it." It's like, no, we don't fall prey to conspiracy theories. Israel only exists because of the United States and the UK, who they ended up falling out with. Like, I keep seeing this meme going around, like, "Oh my God, Queen Elizabeth thought that all Israelis are terrorists," and it's not because like she had any actual anti-Zionist principles. It's because when Elizabeth was growing up, like, you literally had the Stern Gang and
Yeah.
Leahy and all these people running around killing British soldiers. So, the United States became their patron, and like that's literally why they're able to do all of this shit. It's because they have the backing of the United States. So, Israel is basically the Middle Eastern equivalent of South Vietnam. Like, if there was no United States, there would be no Israel, and there's a real material reason for the imperialists to continue supporting Israel, because they needed, like the comrade said, an attack dog in the Middle East. They need a puppet. Like, American imperialism cannot just be like old school imperialism, just be like, you know what, we're going to directly send troops here, we're going to establish a colony in Kuwait, and we are going to dominate that way. Like, that's not going to fly. You'll have the whole Middle East up in arms against you, just like the free people of the Middle East are up in arms against Israel. And what American imperialism also has done is co-opt a lot of the regimes in the area, which, again, most of which were installed by the British, like Jordan, Iraq, fucking Kuwait. Like, these are not, I mean, they're real countries, but they have no real material basis for existence. Like, the Brits and the French, they literally just sat down and did the same thing that the European colonial powers did to Africa during the Berlin Conference. It's like, you know what, this is yours, this is mine. Let's put a puppet king here, and like, there you go. So all of this shit that we're seeing, it's basically the fallout from a couple of British and French diplomats deciding that they wanted to, you know what, let's carve up the Middle East. Of course, were they able to predict that this shit would lead to wars? Of course they would, but they didn't give a shit.
Yeah, so that actually was called the Sykes-Picot Agreement, and it was the first initial division of the Middle East into various enclaves, right? But it's true that, especially, like, you know, there was a great project to redivide the Middle East, and in so doing, destroy the Ottoman Empire, right?
And sick man of Europe.
Yeah. So and redivided in a way where the French and the British could enjoy their spheres of power, right? So, for instance, people don't know this, but like, you know, everyone likes Lawrence of Arabia. Well, not everyone, but people watch that movie. That guy's kind of cool, bro. You know, he was a British agent. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And
I've been reading this shit for like 3 months, and it's like,
yeah.
Oh, well, for one, he was like really, really deeply in the closet bisexual, and it's like,
I'm not
I spent much time with Mukhtar today. And like, okay. Well, so, definitely confirming the stereotype.
Yeah, he was probably, yeah. So this basically, the House of Saud was a prominent family or tribe of that region, and the British helped them overthrow what was a puppet regime of the Hashemite, who are descended ostensibly from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they were kicked out of the holy, of Mecca and Medina, and they settled in what is Jordan. And it turns out, though, that these same people who got kicked out by the British, and Lawrence and House of Saud ended up becoming collaborators with the British later on, right? So yeah, but I will say one thing. So I think that like a kind of image to use for the relation between Israel and the US is Israel. Well, first off, Israel had its own dynamics, right? The Zionist movement in Europe had its own dynamics, and they started the first waves of colonization in Palestine. Then the British kind of helped that process, were very much like a major component of that process. Then later on, the Americans, right? But at this point, I think it's fair to say since the 60s, Israel is kind of like Frankenstein's monster, right? In many ways, it was created by the US. But at this point, the monster has really gotten out of hand. And it is doing things that are entirely inimical to the US. Like
America has a habit of like, I mean, you see the same dynamic to a lesser extent with the various mujahideen groups that
yeah, exactly.
America financed in Afghanistan because they considered the Soviets to be the main enemy. And then after the Soviet Union collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions, now they're like, let's fuck with America now. So like, America has the habit of like funding and raising up these groups, organic or inorganic, and then they get wildly out of control. For example, a lot of Americans don't know that we literally backed the Ayatollahs to help crush, because there was a real danger from the American point of view of Iran going communist. So for like a brief period, okay, we knew that the Shah wasn't going to come back. He was an old done man. And if we like tried to bring him back to Iran, they're probably going to lynch the man. So they're like, you know what, let's back the mullahs. And that was a heck of a surprise, I imagine.
And that's a very, very common situation in the Arab world and in the Muslim world, which is you have secular progressive forces of some kind. It can be bourgeois nationalist, it can be socialist, Arab socialist, and God forbid communist, but they will always choose the Islamists. Islamists.
Like in the 80s, like in the 80s, Reagan and his boys, like they would like, because you had like real organic third world pan-Arab socialist movements in the 70s and 80s, and America was like, we can't let these people take over. That's where our oil is. So like you have fundamentalist regime, Wahhabism, like that's literally how Wahhabism became a thing. Because like, we're not going to let communists or socialists or people like Nasser, who gave both the British and French and Americans fits for decades. Like we're not going to we can't let there be another Nasser. We can't let shit like this keep happening. So let's install these regimes. And like you said, they eventually ended up becoming Frankenstein's monsters that aimed their weapons at the US.
Yeah. And so that's kind of, and right now what Israel is doing, I do think that it's not even really like, I think it's fair. Like earlier you'd kind of said, the story that the US is infiltrated by Zionists and that they're making the US state operate in ways that work against the US. I think that you're right. That is kind of conspiratorial and simplistic, but I think that there is very clearly a connection. Like the other week we were like talking about how there is this guy working in the Biden administration who was calling for war with Iran or something like that, something horrible and genocidal. And you go to his LinkedIn and it's like the dude worked in the IDF. Like the dude was in the IDF. He's an Israeli citizen and he works at the top level of Biden's cabinet. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not it's not conspiracy because it's in the open. Like you can see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll say this, which is like Zionism from the beginning is a political movement that had to engage in geopolitical intrigue in order to achieve its goals. Yeah. Like there has always been a kind of conspiratorial parapolitical aspect to Zionism because they had from the very beginning, they had to lobby imperial powers in order to get what they wanted, right? Like, they did kind of start out, trying to do the aliyahs on their own, and it didn't really work out so well in the late 19th century. And they had some waves of settlers set up, and buy land, but it really didn't amount to as much as it
you're
did.
not gonna, you're not gonna flood out 5 million Arabs and Ottoman Turks and a variety of other people with like dribs and drabs of settlers from Russia and Poland. Like then, like the thing that Zionists always forget is that an overwhelming majority of Jewish people, working class Jewish people in particular, like one of the reasons why the Holocaust was so insidious was that it basically gutted the Jewish left in Europe. Like
Right.
a lot of these people, they were communists, they were socialists. You had the Bundists, you had a variety of people. Like it also almost like wiped out Yiddish, which is a very beautiful language out of existence. But like basically the Jewish proletariat in the areas that the Nazis were occupied was literally decimated. Like people forget, like the people that ended up in the concentration camps, the people that ended up in the death camps, like these were cobblers, these were factory workers. Like because like a lot of the people that actually had means, a lot of them had fled a long time ago. And yeah, but like before that atrocious barbarism, like most Jewish people in the Pale of Settlement in Russia and Poland, like they're like, what the fuck will we move to? What the fuck will we move to Palestine for? And then like when you study the religion, like there's no religious basis for the existence of Israel until the Messiah comes. So like, and that's what the Nature Carta movement and other like Orthodox Haredim, I believe they're called, believe like this they consider Israel to be a monstrosity because like this is against our fucking religion. Like we're not supposed to be over there trying to establish a state until the return of the Messiah. And there ain't no Messiah. And so yeah, it's just like you said, it's a politically opportunistic movement developed by right-wing bourgeois elements, and like they had to play like the British off the French, off the Ottomans, and like so from its inception, it was a very, and never mind the chaos that it sowed within the Jewish diaspora itself.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right.
Like Mark said, it came into the world dripping from head to foot in blood and dirt.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like the fact is though, like there's this, it's a political movement, and it still is a political movement today. Like I think like when we think about US-Israel relations, we're not just like talking about relations between like two states, because there is like a Zionist political movement that predates the existence of Israel that was working to influence states before the state of Israel existed, right? So I think that is like a factor that you have to take into account when looking at US-Israel relations, is that like there kind of is a special relation, I think, that exists that other proxies with the US don't have.
Well, the special
because of that history, I think.
The genuinely special relationship is between the Zionist political movement and the imperialist powers. Whichever one is hegemonic at the moment is a question of history.
It's a push and pull. I think it's a push and pull. Like I think the interests kind of merge at a certain point. Like I think at a certain point you can't really differentiate between imperialists, American imperialism and Zionism. I think they kind of merge into like one behemoth in a way.
Yeah, right now though, the US is the most. It's like even more isolated than with the Iraq War, which is crazy. Like it is. Everyone fucking hates the US so much. It's so obvious, and it's so much because of their support of the genocide. It's like if I were quote unquote intelligent part of the US military apparatus, I'd be like, we need to break relations with these lunatics fucking immediately and find new puppets, because these puppets have turned against us. They're not following orders, right? So it's just fucking, it's so fucking.
Yeah. Like I had a coworker, she was in, and again, this is not like a rabid anti-imperialist. I mean, the lady's a Democrat. And she was in Paris last year for like a church trip or something. Well, she went to London first, or she went to Paris, and she came back. I asked, how was Paris? Did you like it? Was it nice? Did you do any shopping? She was like, these people fucking hate us. Like as soon as they heard our American accents, and it don't make no difference, you black, white, whatever. Like they were like, oh, why are you bombing Palestine? Why you do these, you do horrible things? And I just here to fucking see the city. And and like, yeah, and I think like because one of the major roadblocks we keep saying to the development of an actual real revolutionary anti-imperialist movement in the United States is that a lot of Americans don't travel overseas. They don't engage with people from other countries, whether it be on the internet or otherwise. So they think that, you know, these people think that we're like, they love coming here. They think we're dope. And it's like, no, these people fucking hate us. Like nobody wants a McDonald's on every corner or like, no, like they love our cultural exports. Like you can go to Tibet or Bhutan and see kids wearing Michael Jackson t-shirts. But like, in terms of like, and most of these like people do not hate Americans. They don't hate us like deeply or viscerally. Like even Khamenei said that like we don't hate the American people. We hate what you all are doing to us. And a comrade from over there, he said like both y'all's left and your right is useless because y'all sit and y'all see this stuff happening and you say solidarity with your mouth and you say, oh yeah, free Palestine, but y'all ain't doing a fucking thing. Like your country literally just bombed us. Your country is selling weapons or giving weapons to Israel, voting billions and billions and billions of dollars to continue our genocide. And all y'all can do is a march. All y'all can do is sign petitions to people who don't give a fuck. And like that's why
the European left has been more active, like at least the ones in Parliament, in the EU Parliament, in the national Parliament. They've done some stuff. The best actions I've seen from Europeans are that in places like Italy, they've actually like stopped arms shipments from going to Israel. You know what I'm saying? And that is, but besides, I mean, I don't say besides that, it's what the Europeans are doing too, right? A whole lot of talk and a whole lot of marching, but not much change has occurred.
And like, yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the Italian like situation with the weapon shipments. Greece and Spain have been known this for years. Like, you better not try to send shit to Israel out of Greece. Like some anarchists will literally come and commandeer your fucking ship. But like, you had the ILW, I think this was the ILU, something like that. I'm bad with acronyms, but like the longshoreman. And you had this guy who literally looks like a literal fucking mob boss, like gold chain, huge mansion, everything. And he's like, oh yeah, we're on strike, but we're still going to serve our country and we're still going to handle weapon shipments. I'm like, bro, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then like, you have these labor people in DSA. It's like, oh my God, general strike 2028. So you're going to wait till every Palestinian is either dead or driven into exile, and you're going to wait until Tehran is a smoking ruin to finally get your shit together and call a general strike. And we keep asking the question, like, you have these people, you have people that work at Boeing, you have people that work at Lockheed Martin, you have people that work at Raytheon. Like, where are the communists?
Yeah.
And like, where is the actual agitation? Shit, Palestinian solidarity activists, they were literally trying to engage with Boeing workers and hand them pamphlets and talk to them and be like, hey, do you know where this stuff goes? And the fucking workers are trying to run them over. They're like, bro, I make $125,000 a year. I do not give a fuck. I will literally hurt you. And like we keep running into that roadblock. Like people with full refrigerators, people that have boats, people that have 401ks with hundreds of thousands of dollars in them, people that have second homes, like a lot of these defense industry contractors, they've segued out into fucking real estate investment. Like you can do
that's the thing is they definitely make sure the people working at those places are labor aristocrats full who are not going to be upset.
And like it's a contradiction. And like you can't just be like, well, we have to organize what? Organize how? Concretely how? Like
I mean,
like what is a pamphlet to $125,000 a year?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think at this point it's pretty clear that trying to win over sections of the workers in the defense sector is just it's not a winning strategy.
Yeah, like it's not Russia 1917 where it's
you're a dirty fucking third worldist.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, there are others though. Like for instance, we were talking about longshoremen. That's probably a better sector to look at, right?
That has a militant history.
Yeah, exactly.
It does, but it's like, I remember a while ago in Tampa, they tried to block the boat, and they talked to the longshoremen, and they were just completely uninterested. And
Well,
and
that's the other
doing-
thing is the uniquely kind of reactionary quality of American trade unionism is also just like a huge roadblock.
Yeah,
In many ways, it's, I think, trying to organize at that site is putting the what's the expression, the horse before the cart before the horse. I think we need, in many ways, I don't want to like put it in stages, but we need effective independent organization, one of whose goals has to be shaping and directing revolutionary consciousness before you can have people susceptible to, for instance, like stopping a blockade in, you know, or stopping a shipment of arms to Israel. You know, in Italy, the Italians, I think, you know, things have changed since the 90s. The Italians.
Can we please stop talking about Italians? I don't like those people.
No,
They flooded our communities with heroin. I do not like Italians.
what about Luigi? Is Luigi okay?
Is
He didn't do that. He's just some dude.
He's just some guy. Yeah.
He's reading fucking Ayn Rand.
Who is?
Luigi
Mangione.
And he gave thanks to the fucking prison guards, and he gave thanks for Republicans. I'm not saying fuck Luigi, but like, I don't know
what the guy's deal is. Yeah.
So Gus brings up a good point, which is the regional coastal. Yeah, I have seen some actions by people on the West Coast. That's true. That's definitely true. All I was trying to say is that the U.S.
It has to do with the ethnic composition, I think, as well. Like on the West Coast, you've got more Chicanos, you've got more Black people, you've got Filipinos. So, like, whereas on the East Coast, you got a bunch of old, gritty, old-ass, racist Irish and Italian dudes. So, yeah.
I think that's definitely part of it, yeah. No, but, you know, in general, though, I think it's also, like, the broadest thing is the weakness of the American left and its history, right? And the level of class consciousness and revolutionary class consciousness, there's just very little history of that here. Whereas
very strong history of class collaboration, though.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes, there is.
Whereas, you know, in Europe, for all its many faults, many, in a place
like, strong history of class collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, for fuck's sake, you know, I mean, my great grandfather was an Italian immigrant in France, who ended up supporting the Algerian Revolution and breaking over Stalin.
So did he? I imagine he got kicked out of the PCF.
Well, he was not welcome anymore, right? But he, you know, he actually, this was like in the 50s. He was like, he really loved my grandfather. My grandfather was an Algerian in France, and like completely blessed the marriage between my grandmother and him, right? And you know, he was a French Italian communist, but he was very much anti-imperialist. You know, that's the kind of history that we're talking about. It doesn't exist in America. People don't have, you know what I'm saying? So building that.
That's America, really there is also like a weird tradition of like, I was gonna say, like, America, there is like also a weird tradition of like nativist anti-imperialism. Like you have.
I'm not
like,
going to go die for somebody else's country. That type of shit.
Right? Yeah, like exactly, a kind of invade the world, invite the world, like mass. Like imperialism is bad because it causes mass immigration. Is like one line that you get from like some like Tucker Carlson types, for example. Like you do have
that was the original Anti-Imperialist League, if I recall correctly.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I'm.
Like these people literally did not want the Philippines and Mexico and Cuba and Puerto Rico to become part of the United States. Because you know what? We've already got like all these millions of Black people to deal with. We're not bringing in a bunch of brown people.
Yeah,
like that was literally the rationale.
Of course, like what they expect to like. There's something I don't understand. Is it's like they. I was speaking about it earlier. It's like they fucking hate imperialism because it invites the world. But how do they think that America is where it is? It's in being imperialist and everywhere in the world, and doing whatever the fuck they want.
You comrades give Americans, like I keep telling comrades from Europe and the Middle East and China, it's like, y'all give these people too much credit. Like we ask, well, why don't Americans? Because Americans don't think. Yeah. Like it's really that simple. Americans do not think. These people get their political rationale from people like from random people on TikTok or
Yeah.
conspiracy theorists. Like, the more you talk like this, the more an American is likely to believe what you say. Like, we are the most, like, these people are the most Eloy brained people in existence.
We gotta have some faith in some of them though, because we're in the belly of the beast. So we gotta whip some of them into shape. You know what I'm saying?
A bit of cracker control,
to
perhaps.
form opposition, because otherwise, if you know, at a minimum, if we can't somewhat disrupt the machinery of the U.S., world revolution is going to be very,
Well,
very.
maybe we can start by getting the
difficult,
largest left-wing organization in the country to at least say that Iran has the right to defend itself. Like, maybe we could start there.
Or
But,
something.
like,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
Yeah, speaking about that,
that
yeah.
whole fucking argument, it's just like that whole fucking, it was just stupid. Like, and this happens time and time and time again. Like, you have all of these professional middle-class white people that are like, well, we have to consider optics, we have to consider vibes. Is this the appropriate venue? Why are we issuing a statement in the first place? Like, these people have no concept of what real socialist political leadership is.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like you're not in DSA, Jean-Mil, so you don't. I don't know if you're up to date on what was going on with this, but
No, Jamil's mental health is probably
Well, I mean,
Jamil's mental health is probably a lot
yeah,
better than yours or
yes,
mine, Donnie.
yes, no, totally.
So my real quick, my story with DSA is I'm technically
You're not as
DSA,
involved though.
but I'm in Maryland, so I'm part of the fucking DMV DSA, which is
comrades
dog
up there.
shit. So I spent some time trying to get involved, and then just was like, I can't.
Many such cases.
This.
So see, the thing that I consistently tell left-wing comrades in DSA is like, because like the main reason why the left is weak in DSA is because one, you have like fractional divides within the left, even in DSA, and that kind of prevents us moving as one. Whereas the right is, they disagree on a lot of shit, but is this the Hassan stream? Do either one of us look like fucking Hassan? I mean, I'm the most handsome one here, so I guess I could be a surrogate wish stand-in, but no, this is not the Hassan stream. Anyways,
you could pull it off. You could become the next Hassan, maybe.
Hassan for lumpen. Anyways, well, Hassan for people that are already communists. Anyways, so the right, on the other hand, like their main thing is keeping people like me and Donnie out of power. So they will get together and they will vote for each other's shit. But like the left, and I'm in these group chats just like arguing over the minutiae of things. And then second of all, a lot of people they're fucking lazy. Like they just want to whine. Oh my God, where would the right? Like, are you whipping votes? Are you active in your chapter? Do you are you actually recruiting people? Because when you look at the right, like I've studied these people and I see how they move. These people will literally recruit their fucking wife for a vote. So we have to develop that capacity. Like I've never been like a type of person that's just like, oh my God, this is so bad. This is okay. Yeah, shit's horrible. It's bad. But what are you going to do about it? Because all that whining is going to do is have your hairline looking like this.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no.
You got to struggle.
That's
I mean, I'm with you there, dude. Like
Donnie, that's an Anglo-ass hairline if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, no.
But I will say it's part of what you were saying too, which is like a lot of these people know how to operate.
Well, they're in NGOs and stuff. A lot of have the resources.
Exactly. Because like their class basis is state loyalist. They operate in the framework of the U.S. state. Their livelihood. Yeah. So that is like their class basis. And because of that, they develop certain skills, right? They're shifty. They know how to fucking maneuver politically.
They're not that hard to learn,
and
though.
The far left, it's not. It's really not. But the truth is that the far left of the U.S., it recruits a lot from radical, petty bourgeois intellectual types, right? And those are not the sort of people who know how to operate politically. And so it's just like a massive disadvantage in terms of skills. But you're right. I mean, the basic thing is you got to struggle to win. You can't just We can't just complain about how awful these people are and not learn the basic political skills to win. That being said, do we want to fully replicate that kind of shitty, like, political maneuvering culture? It's gonna bringing elements
if you're
like
in
that
DSA,
into,
you're
like,
gonna have to. If you're in DSA and you want to actually be able to enforce your political will, your political vision of change, as they say,
Yeah.
theory of change,
Your vision
you
of
gotta have
change,
to.
theory of
Like, just
change.
like would I go to a
No, you're
Catholic church and then get mad that I'm expected to go to mass? Like, it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
with you on that, and I been in DSA for a while. I've played the game, and I think I'm kind of at the point where I'm like really kind of getting tired of it and demoralized. But I'm not like saying I'm quitting or anything. But I feel
I'm
like
not. I never get demoralized. I'm a Maoist. I demoralize.
yeah, I do. But I am like I think recent events have been driving me to like a little insane, like
Yeah, I've heard that there's been a lot of fucking maneuvering with the convention coming
It
up,
happens.
and like a
It
lot of
happens every
sketchy.
convention.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
a lot
the
of
way things go.
Yeah.
a lot of sketchy shit. Like people will literally just like
Yeah.
And being on AfroSoc, like that's why, like, you literally had these people trying to they literally registered everybody, I guess, darker than a fucking paper bag, and like had the, okay, you guys need to go and you need to vote. And it's like, why are you meddling in our affairs? And then like Âmrikâ, the multiracial organizer,
Yeah.
in DSA, multiracial means one thing: you have 20 white people and you have one Arab or Latino or black dude who's married or who is fucking one of the 20 white people. That's what multiracial organizing means.
Yeah, no, I remember when they voted to make that multiracial organized
and then it did nothing
because
they're trying to resurrect. They're trying to resurrect this zombie organization. I think that held one conference, which was useless. I've talked.
Well, there was
to
no
people
reason
who
to
were there.
make it in the first place because it was an SMC project that undercut AfroSoc. That's why it was created.
That's why they're trying to. That's why they're trying to bring it back. It's a joint SMC / groundwork thing to try to undercut AfroSoc because the leaders of AfroSoc, of which I am one, are hard left, and they do not want us representing the Black and Latino. And you don't have to be Black to join AfroSoc, by the way. But like, we have Asian comrades, we have Latino comrades, we have all types of comrades. But the only thing is, you cannot be white. And I think a lot of people don't like that either. Like, for some reason, I think one thing I've noticed about white people in DSA is that they do not like being excluded from things. I don't know if they think that we're talking about them. Yes, we are. But like, they do not like being excluded from spaces, because when they're excluded from spaces, they cannot engage in a little petty factional maneuvering and stuff like that. So what they're going to try to do with this Âmrikâ thing is have their little tokens. And I can name some names, but I'm not going to be unprincipled. I'm surprised I haven't gotten a fucking grievance yet. But anyways,
I'm
so
surprised.
they're going to send yeah, you can't grievance me. I grievance you. And
Today's the day.
Yeah,
Man.
I don't believe it. It's too much like telling the fucking hall monitor, the fucking principal, oh my god, BRB hit me, and I'm like, bro.
Yeah, we had some pretty hilarious. Maybe we get into it, but like someone in DSA trying to complain about Cosmonaut magazine, even though we're not the DSA.
Y'all are not a DSA publication.
Yeah, they were like, we're gonna report you to DSA. We're like, have a good time. I don't know what that's.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You can't whoop my ass.
Yeah,
that's what I would say. Like, what are you gonna do? Oh, you gotta send me a strongly worded letter? Okay. Well, throw me out. Okay. All I'll do is join the fucking AAR. All African People's Revolution. They need to change their name. AAPRP. People think that us ultra leftists join DSA for clout. Bro, like, I've actually lost clout since joining DSA. I did not join DSA for fucking clout.
Yeah.
Like, every time I run into a Black organizer or somebody that's been around DSA, like, bro, why are you still in that organization? Why are you in there? Like, bro, I'm here because I believe in this.
Yeah.
Like, what clout? What clout does DSA have to offer me?
Well, it's what you were saying. It's like, unfortunately, if you want to be in a place with the most leftists that are in some sense organizing, DSA is the only fucking place. I was in sects before or micro groups,
Ooh,
and
which micro groups? Which sects? I
I
might
was
know
in
people that
ISO,
are.
which is trash.
Ew.
Yeah, I was in
It actually, you
ISO.
know, my first protest sign was an ISO sign. I literally
Yeah,
picked it up off the ground.
yeah.
If I'd
It was
known any better, I
trash.
would have left it on the ground.
I'm pretty embarrassed to admit that, but you
Oh
know,
yeah, I started in the fucking Socialist Party USA.
okay, well then we share a common past in being part of past trash groups. But I was part of that, and then I realized, like, as much as maybe I'm around people who have a quote unquote higher level than the average DSA, or it's just not going to cut it being a group of 1,000, 2,000 people with no organic ties to anything.
A lot of ISO people joined DSA and just became part of the right wing.
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting because that a lot of the
Socialist alternative people did too.
a
Yeah.
lot of the reason that ISO imploded was, you know, there was this kind of weird story that was told that it had to do with the abuses of the leadership, which is inherent in the kind of like sex structure of an ISO.
Which is inherent in Trotskyist organization.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but the thing that probably the biggest pressure point was the split over Bernie. And the ISO itself, its leadership, especially like a new and up and coming leadership, was starting to go like hard into the Bernie campaign. And the old guard were like very much opposed, and that created massive pressure. And the only people that remained after a lot of that like up and coming leadership left were just like rad libs with very weak political, just like a political formation. And so it just like they tore the remains apart. It was really,
I'm a Maoist. We've never had any problems over splits over Bernie because none of us liked Bernie. No, Maoist split over the funniest shit.
Yeah,
like if you remember the Red Guards, like they literally started fucking with my group in STL St. Louis.
Really?
Yeah, because like wait, did you think I was in the Red Guards?
Oh no, I didn't think you were in Red Guards. But I was thinking, like, why would they attack? Yeah. So what was the issue?
Well, for one, it was ego. I have an ego, and the guy that was running the Red Guards have an ego. And another part of it was because they thought that we stole the name, serve the people. And I'm like, bro, you don't have a copyright on any of this shit. And they were like, you must change your name immediately. You are not affiliated with the form. I'm like, bro, suck my dick. So, yeah, that's where that whole fucking beef started from. And like it eventually escalated to the point where like they wrecked my organization's community garden in the middle of the night. And then they put up some shit on the wall of the vacant building next to it that said, as always, to opportunists or some shit like that. They put up flyers around me and my comrade's house saying that I'm a landlord and he was a transplant from New York City because he has a very, very thick Rhode Island accent. And they wound up by leaving a dead rat in a coffin, a very cute coffin, handmade, on my comrade's doorstep in the middle of the night. And then they busted out all the windows of his house, and because he made a disparaging comment about President Gonzalo on Facebook.
Wow.
That's how that's the type Maoist shit makes Trot shit look tame.
Yeah, it really does, bro. Wow, goddamn. That's what do you even that's also what I'm saying. Is like, what do you do with people like that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I can't say what you do with people like that.
Yeah, what do you build? What do you build with that? You know, so that's the thing about
a cult.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so,
no, that was definitely a cult. I mean, we interviewed some people who were in it on Cosmo. It was a cult. Yeah,
you had that really good Iron Guards piece after they attacked the Kansas City IWW/DSA meeting.
Yeah,
one of those guys over there. They put the old man in the hospital, but like you're just what is the point of this?
God.
Like, and like you talk to people, like every now and then I run into people who were Red Guards. They literally compare me to Bob Avakian, by the way. Like they literally and like their main goal was to fuck with FTP. I'm like, what? You all have like literal real shit to be talking. Again, this was all during Trump 1. Like you all have actual real shit to be doing. And I give them credit. Like they were very, very good at injecting militancy into movements, needed militancy. But what's the point of injecting militancy into a movement if your actions and your interventions eventually lead to the movement fracturing
Yeah.
And all that happens is you end up with people like you literally made these kids drop out of college to proletarianize themselves, and then now you all have collapsed, and now they have PTSD, they have a shitload of debt, they have no degree, they have nothing. Like, you literally ruin these kids' lives, man.
Yeah.
Like, do you not have I can never. For one, I'm not a believer in trying to plan people's lives out for them in the first, but like, you literally ruin these people's lives. You have to be held accountable for that.
Yeah, I agree. That's really irresponsible. It's incredibly irresponsible.
Maybe it's just because I have a fucking conscience. Like, I don't want, I just don't want people thinking, oh God, the fucking Black Red Guard fucked my life up. Like, I do not want people thinking of me like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not good for anyone.
It's not a good thing to have on your mind. Or God forbid I get somebody locked up for the rest of their lives, or I get somebody I feel responsible for people that I bring into politics. And
that's another aspect of organizing in the US that I think that sometimes comrades overseas, I mean, comrades in particularly repressive governments might get it, but compared to other Western imperialist powers, they throw the fucking book at political organizers here. Like Black Panthers in solitary confinement for fucking decades kind of book.
Mind you, like solitary confinement. Like, that's why I laugh at those people that are like, I'm a lone wolf, I don't need anybody. I'm like, bro, that's literally like, okay, you want to be a lone wolf? Let me put you in a little bitty box.
Yeah.
Like about the size of half this room.
Yeah.
And let you sit there for 30 years. Oh shit, you'd break in 30 hours.
Yeah.
That's why that's torture.
You need people to know that there are people around and that you can see those people and feel their presence. Being completely isolated is a form of torture, like a deep form of torture.
That's why Huey Newton went nuts. Well, for one, I believe that they MK Ultra'd him. Like, they definitely they gave that guy some type of experimental drugs in his food. If you read Tukey Williams' autobiography, like, he literally talks about like how when he was locked up, they would he didn't eat none of that shit because it was all drugs. It was Seroquel and shit, basically shit to turn you into a zombie.
Yeah.
And I believe they did the same thing to Huey P. Newton. Like, there's no way this man went into prison as a dedicated revolutionary cadre, and he came out bull-whipping Bobby Seale and snorting mountains of cocaine. Like, they did something to him.
They broke him.
They broke him, and they fucked him up. And like, they've done that to a lot of people. Like Paul Robeson, they literally gave this guy, they tortured him with electroshock treatments, and they gave him drugs. Like, this man, by the time that they were trying to bring him back into the mainstream civil rights movement, because they literally cut him off from everything. Like, Martin Luther King,
they unpersoned him, and
like Martin Luther King literally was told by his advisors, like, do not hit up Paul Robeson, do not do that. And like, he was a broken man. Like, this man was a literal fucking genius.
He was a genius.
And by the end of his life, like, he was just a shell of himself. That's why I laugh at these people who are all over the internet, like, yeah, we are ready for revolution. I'm like, no, you're not. Because if you are actually serious, are you ready to take that type of torture? Are you ready? Because they've only improved their methods. Especially in this social media era. And I keep seeing, like, the way that these people spread rumors and stuff, like, brown mail is so easy nowadays because people read shit, they see shit about somebody that they don't like, and next thing you know, it's everywhere. It is so easy. It's so easy to plant shit. Now you have AI, like, they will literally make a video or a picture of you doing something that you did not do.
They have the Pegasus hacking software. They can just hack your shit, put anything they want on it. They can And Peter Thiel, he's fascinated with psychedelic drugs for a reason. He wants to open the MK Ultra archives, not because he wants to expose the crimes of the U.S. state, but because he wants more information on these experiments so he can fine-tune them and perfect them.
Donnie, you actually recommended, you actually posted about a book. It's in this pile behind me somewhere. That pile of books is taller than I am, and I'm 6'2".
Yeah, no, I can relate.
That book about about Laurel Canyon, like,
weird scenes inside the canyon.
Yeah, I read that, and that was some of the most fucked up shit. Like, I did not know that, like, Jim Morrison, his dad was a little fucking Navy admiral, because I like the same type of music you like.
Yeah.
Mama Cass, like, all of these people they were like they were fucking they were fed up. They were glowing. I'm like, damn, no wonder the 60s were so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Don is our resident expert in all things conspiracy theory. And
yeah, I mean, listen, like I do think that the CIA was like in Laurel Canyon and Haight-Ashbury, and they were, the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic that Charles Manson was hanging out at. That was definitely some kind of CIA experiment thing, but to the extent that like all of these rock stars actually were like consciously like in on a conspiracy, I highly doubt that. But like I do think that
they were too disorganized, and half of them spent like 95% of their time high off various drugs. They didn't have the common sense to develop a conspiracy.
But
right.
The CIA were very, very good at intervening in the cultural world and and using people, ideas, institutions towards their ends.
Yeah, that's where all that fucking surrealist art came from.
Well, I guess it was expressionism, American expressionism.
Yeah, abstract expressionism. But I will say, I think, these cultures, this culture, so I didn't, I don't think it was manufactured by the CIA. I think the CIA saw this stuff kind of popping up, and then they tried to kind of jump on it and steer it in certain ways, I think, because
radical lifestyleism,
right?
Maybe
they wanted to promote the more like lifestylist, individualistic, and kind of hippy dippy spiritual kind of drop out and just kind of do your own thing type parts of it, rather than the more political and critical thinking type aspects.
Maybe if I get tired of being a Maoist, because Maoism generally doesn't end with anything but a bullet in the Maoist head. Maybe I should just like become one of those postmodern artists. Like, I'm just going to take a shitload of black paint over and throw it on a white canvas and title it Revolution and make 500 fucking grand.
Hey, you get some money from Peter Thiel for doing.
I mean, I already have the fucking look. I wear these hats for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth talking about. I don't know. What do you guys want? What should we shoot the shit about?
Well, I wanted to say like the whole DSA thing. We kind of got off track about that, but yeah, like I guess the DSA IC wanted to put out a statement about Iran, right? And
they gutted the rightists on the NPC because of a statement that was issued regarding Ismail Haniyeh and his martyrdom last year or a couple years ago. I can't remember, but yeah, apparently the rightists have now arrogated unto themselves the right to approve statements that are issued by the IC. I'm a member of the Africa and Middle Eastern subcommittee of the IC, so I see this shit firsthand. But yeah, this is all SMC and groundwork and bread and roses that are and again, like, this is what I keep trying to explain to leftists, like, quit fucking whining, like, these people are not set in stone. They're voted in, they're elected. They can be unelected, but only if you get your shit together. Like, if y'all spent as much time whipping votes and actually, because a lot of people that come into DSA, they don't even know what these caucuses are. They don't know anything about the differences in politics between these caucuses. They just vote for the guy that was nice to them at their first meeting. They just vote the way he wants them to vote. And we have to take advantage of that. Like, you all cannot just be shut-ins, just eternally whining on the internet. When was the last time you've been to a meeting?
Or you gotta get out and do the stuff.
Yeah. Like, have you helped conduct political education? Have you given people books? Have you helped people comprehend the shit they read in the book? Like, leftists in DSA have to be organizers, because the right, for all of their ills, they've taught me a lot about how to actually organize people for stupidity, for stupid shit. But it's still organizing. So we have to organize people for good shit. Otherwise, like, you're just whining. You're going to whine and whine and whine, and you're going to be outflanked. Maoists have a saying: this is a trench of combat. And you can't just sit in the trench with your head between your legs and, oh my God, we're gonna die, we're gonna die, we're gonna die. That's essentially what a lot of the DSA left are doing. And then it's like you gotta earn people's respect. You can't just like show up to a meeting and like start shouting at people like
what the
Well,
correct
you
thing
can,
is.
you can, but it won't end very well. And
No,
people
you
be like,
you
"Why is it
can,
fucking-"
but you're not gonna like get anywhere. You got to actually do some canvassing, like do some stuff with people, actually show that like you care about the project, and
And a lot of
you
people in
actually
DSA,
got to prove that you're like that you're
a
a
lot
good
of people in and a lot of people in DSA, like, they hold our views, but you have to find them and you have to
Yeah.
organize them. If they aren't in your branch, you have to recruit them into your branch. Like your online book club, do any of them live by you? Okay, why don't y'all join DSA together? Of course, don't just get like, don't engage in entryism. Like, don't just get a whole fucking group of Trots in St. Louis tried to do that before I joined. Like, oh yeah, we're here and we're going to read a bunch of fucking what's that fucking guy's name? Peter Woods, Cliff Woods. I don't know, the fucking IMT guy. But yeah, we're gonna read a bunch of stuff, and yeah, they didn't
Wait, you
make
mean the
it very
head
well.
IMT guys? The head IMT guy?
Yeah,
Oh fuck yeah! What is
the
his
guy
name?
that doesn't believe in the Big Bang.
Yeah, that's fuck. How am I blanking on his name? Alan Woods.
Alan Woods. Yeah, Alan Woods.
There you go. Yeah, we're gonna read a bunch of that shit, and like that, they didn't.
Okay.
Okay, this is fucking weird, but
I'd rather.
yeah, don't do that because that's entryism, and entryism will get you kicked out of DSA. But like that's pretty much the only like part of the reason why I encourage leftists to join DSA is because it's so fucking hard to get put out.
Yeah.
So like we have room to maneuver, but you have to actually maneuver instead of just remaining fixed in place.
Well, here's a question because I'm not up to date as much. Is there a place in the country where the left of DSA does have power and is effective? And
Yeah,
gets things
Minneapolis,
done?
the Twin Cities. I don't know how they did it,
Yeah.
but like pretty much the entire YDSA convention delegate block is Maoists. But yeah, Maoists are pretty powerful in Twin Cities.
Yeah,
there's
no,
a few other.
Yeah, no, I've heard Twin Cities is pretty good. I think
How's Chicago? How's Chicago?
I've heard mixed things.
Yeah. Anywhere else where things are not bleak?
I think like
St. Louis is actually pretty good. I mean, they elected me to the convention, and they elected me as one of the, well, it wasn't necessarily a competitive election, but I was elected to the executive committee, and I'm probably going to be doing a lot more with polyed pretty soon. So the thing with like St. Louis is not a really caucus heavy city. I mean, we have a few SMC people who hilariously tried to stack the convention roster with their people, but and we have a few groundwork people who are sympathetic to groundwork. We actually have 3 people in Liberation Caucus now, 2 of which are active, myself and another comrade. But and my co-chair is Commie Caucus, so it's pretty eclectic over here. But usually what I've seen is like the smaller branches, especially in the South. Atlanta is, but like
yeah, Atlanta's a mess. I mean,
Atlanta's a mess. Like
yeah.
if
Like-
you have the city that is literally the capital of Black America, and you have in your branch is basically all white transplants, there's something deeply, deeply wrong there.
Yeah, that's really bad. That's
and they try to do like Mussolini style like electoral rules to like make sure that like SMC and groundwork had like a 100% majority for delegates.
Yeah, they did that in
Yeah,
LA
I
too.
saw-
Like,
Yeah.
a guy like, so they were literally bragging about it. Oh, look at our divisions. It's all fucking SMC. It's all ground. I'm like, bro, who the fuck do you think you are, Bashar al-Assad? You can't do that.
Yeah.
But again, if the left doesn't stand up and actually pose a challenge to these people, they're gonna feel comfortable doing that shit.
Yeah. I mean, it is about getting our shit together. And I guess the question is, first off, what do we consider to be, for me, I guess the dividing line between a left and a not left in DSA is, do we see ourselves as state disloyalists? Yes. Are we a disloyal opposition? 2, do we seek in concrete way to actually develop an independent political organization? Yes. 3, will we use elections as a pulpit to rally our forces and cohere consciousness as opposed to just winning straight up?
It depends on the
which
line that leads. Like,
Yeah.
people constantly bring up, well,
But those are some elements that I can
Yeah.
see, cohering a more unified
people
left.
constantly
right?
constantly bring up. There was actually an argument in my branch about this the other. Like, oh well, if you don't believe in these methods, then why are you in DSA? Well, like, I'm like, look, it's not the methods that I disagree with; it's the line. Like, you have like a communist electoral campaign is radically different than a social democratic electoral campaign. A communist union organizing campaign is radically different than a social democratic union organizing campaign. So it's not that the left opposes these methods and wants to do nothing. It's that we have to keep in mind that line leads. If you have a shitty line, you're going to lose. Why? Because you have a shitty line. If you have a line that is not developed in consult with the masses, it's not going to be any good. So this is why, like, a lot of people in DSA are allergic to any form of political struggle. They see political struggle as really masked interpersonal struggle, which in reality is the other way around. Interpersonal struggle tends to be masked political struggle. And
exactly. That's one that really drives me nuts, is that aspect of it.
Yeah. And
it's difficult to have political disagreements.
Yeah, like I don't.
That kind of sounds, to be honest, that does sound kind of typical for when there's a low level of political consciousness,
it's,
right?
It's just like, PMC. It's just PMC. Everybody wants to be friends. Everybody wants to go out drinking together. Like, it's not party time. Like, a lot of people, they treat this shit as a place to meet friends and hang out. And like, there's people literally being snatched off the fucking street. We just bombed another country. Like, World War III very possibly might be in the offing. And here you are, of just this part, like, if you're familiar with The Last Poets, party and bullshit. Yeah, till we all die. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to be dead. So
I mean, I do think that there is part of this is maybe not the role of DSA strictly, but I think it is part of the political movement to try to create, quote unquote, a society within a society, right? An oppositional society within the wider society, which does include things like as casual as hangouts and sports clubs and shit like that. I do think that that's important in cohering a lot of people and making them feel as part of a movement, right? Like, organically, like, not just this is a position I take, but this is who I am. And like, of course, like, that doesn't mean that DSA should be a hangout spot. It's not at all what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? But I do think building that wider culture that coheres people, I think that is an important thing. It's part of also what has kept me going as a communist, right? Is that I have communist friends and they understand me. Like, I feel like so often I operate in wider bourgeois society and no one gets me. I feel like I'm constantly hiding. I'm alienated. I see what people think and it more or less kind of disgusts me, even though I don't necessarily judge them for it. Not everyone, at least. And I think that having that communist world within this one that we live in has been important for me to just keep going. You know what I'm saying? Just having comrades, I don't know about y'all,
definitely. But I think there needs to be a way for people to, like, politically disagree but still be able to be comrades. And I feel like a lot of people in DSA just can't do that. Like, they take every political disagreement as like a personal enmity, and they and
that's because they're petty bourgeois.
Yeah, no, there's definitely this petty bourgeois PMC mentality and
passive aggressivity. Like, they'll never like, either they're breathing down your fucking throat and being openly hostile, or they are engaged in passive aggressive bullshit and asking stupid fucking questions. And like, my family, I was not raised like that.
Yeah,
like, I was literally the first person in my family to go to college. Well, the first man in my family to go to college. And like, I come from mainly lumpen proletarian background, and I'm like, that's not how we move.
Yeah, I mean, it is a real barrier to, like, organizing proles. Like, it is like a real cultural problem. Like,
why the fuck would a proletarian follow somebody? Like, most of these people in DSA talk like their fucking boss. Hell, most of these people in DSA probably are their fucking boss. Why would they want to follow the leadership of somebody like that? Like, it's just a culture shock. Like, can you imagine somebody clocks off a shift and they have some PhD grad student that somehow wheedled their way into co-chairing a committee, talking to them about the plight of the working class and droning on and on and on about org charts and shit like that. Nobody has time for that. They'll go home and they'll play a fucking video game.
Well, it's not a new problem to the socialist movement. I mean, it's
Of course not.
Intellectuals filling up the ranks of the socialist movement, and they go and preach to the workers, and the workers don't understand the intellectuals, and the intellectuals don't understand the workers, and there's this misunderstanding.
In fact, it's like a very typical like right wing.
Right.
Well, yeah, most of the like the socialist movement in the United States, the communist movement in the United States is basically intellectuals organizing other intellectuals.
Right. That's the problem, is how do you actually move beyond this situation? How do you actually make the merger happen instead of just kind of having grad students organizing other grad students talking about
why do you think that the main fucking union organizing that DSA does is grad students?
Right.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because like even in a place like Algeria, so
You're from
grandfather,
Algeria? Ooh.
yeah, my grandfather Abu, he was born into a somewhat prominent family, but of the fifth wife. So when the father died, his mother and her children got kicked out of the house. And he worked in rug factories starting at 9 years old or something like that. His brother died of malnutrition and disease, and he ended up becoming leadership or cadre in the FLN, right? But he did, in a way, come from a prominent Arab family in a colonial settler situation, even though he was the disgraced part of it. But there are many other elements of the FLN that were like from prominent families. You know what I'm saying? Like were landowners or kulaks. Or whatever.
In this situation, like, so your great grandfather, I guess, he had multiple wives. He was in a polygamous situation.
Yeah, he's Muslim.
So he's in a polygamous situation, and I guess your status declines the lower so your fifth wife, that's your newest wife. So her kids.
Well, you're only allowed to have four by Muslim
technically
law.
They were bastards.
Yeah, in many ways. So it's like this weird class situation where they were in many ways part of the like. It's also weird, right? Because you have a French bourgeoisie in the colony and a French working class, but you also have a quote unquote Arab bourgeoisie. Calling it a big bourgeoisie is false. It was like they could get pretty rich though. He was a merchant.
Compradors.
Yeah, kind of.
Compradors,
yeah,
I guess compradors / national bourgeoisie / like weird little bizarro category.
It's kind of weird in my great-grandfather's great-great-grandfather, or whatever he is, great-grandfather's case, because he was a merchant, but he sold his goods mainly, he imported hash.
Oh, hell yeah. I love hash.
And he sold it, drugs. I mean, mostly to Arabs. Yeah, he mostly sold the drugs to Arabs. So it's kind of like, it's not like he was like a petty bourgeois in the colony that depended on the relation to the metropole for like import and export. It's like he was like importing from Morocco and selling it to. It's weird. So it's like this weird class situation.
So you're descended from like the Algerian El Chapo or somebody.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, partly. Yeah, the other side were like my dad's side were like dudes in the desert, just like
Bedouin.
Around, like, So it's I guess what I'm trying to say is it's like it's interesting how in like that situation the FLN did develop a lot of its leadership from this like quote unquote upper caste of Algerians or indigenous, but like many of them also were like in a precarious situation. Like they would be in Algeria, they would be the sons of kulaks, but then they would migrate to France and they would work in like the Renault car factory. You know what I'm saying? It's like very, very weird.
Played
but
a major role
nonetheless,
played a major role in May of '68 too.
Yeah, they did actually. Yeah. So it's very weird because a lot of them also had more education as well. Like they were more educated, and it in no way, from what I can tell, like necessarily correlated with left or right wing positions. So it's a very interesting question of like where intellectuals fall. Like I would definitely call my grandfather Abu an intellectual. Like he didn't get a high school diploma, he didn't get anything, but the man knew he had like an eidetic memory. He like knew Marx by heart. He like read like all of Lenin and Trotsky, like, you know, so like it's weird. Like we say intellectual, but I guess it's more important to be concrete about the actual class basis. Are you like an intellectual, like operating as an academic in America, right? Because I think naturally it will be intellectuals who in the beginning of the movement have like prominence. They have the ideas. They start cohering things. The question is like, where do those intellectuals come from? Where are their loyalties? Right. So I think it's okay for us to have intellectuals
Class stand
in the
versus
beginning.
class position.
Yeah, yeah, you know, and I think it's okay. It's just like we have to be clear on like what are their loyalties with their actual.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like a lot of these DSA, PMC, middle class people, they don't actually take a class stand, you know, like they're not actually class traders, you know.
They don't get.
They don't have a class con. They have very weak.
These are the
class
types of
consciousness.
people.
For them,
These are the types of people that think fucking tenured professors are proletarians.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, sure.
No,
But
but they
again,
think
like-
that because they like helped like organize a union, or because they helped win some reforms in the campaign.
A petty bourgeois union. A petty bourgeois union.
Yeah, because they, you know, and I'm not trying to denigrate a lot of that work. 'Cause a lot of that work may have actually really helped some people and may have done like, you know, some really good stuff. You know, I'm not trying to denigrate activist work or anything like that, but there's this emphasis on activism and pragmatism to where, you know, it doesn't.
Pragmatism. It's not even good pragmatism because they rarely win shit.
Right, but it's like, you know, it's an emphasis on you know, your experience within existing activist orgs and your ability to get democratic candidates elected and stuff, and it becomes like if you don't have that kind of experience to back up what you're saying like gets dismissed in a lot of cases is the problem.
Yeah, let's be honest. That's like what people take to be the criteria of success. How many Democratic candidates we get elected that it like just like regurgitate some of our talking points in like
never
form.
mention socialism. Never mention DSA.
Never.
Never like actually
Yeah.
take a political. Like you have to. Half these people allow themselves to be manipulated into saying that Israel has the right to exist. Like, what exactly is the use of such people? Like,
Right.
what I want to see from the DSA, like electoral wonks, is like independent socialist candidates that actually win. Like you are, and then the thing is, like with these Democratic campaigns, we cannot really take credit for them. Like we join in. Maybe they come to a meeting and they seek an endorsement halfway through the process. We mobilize a few canvassing dates, and like that's not a DSA run campaign. DSA is part of the coalition that helped get the person in, but we cannot take full credit. Like we need shit that we can actually take full credit for. Like let's say we got this alderperson elected. They've been a DSA member for 5 years. They rose from the ranks. And now they're rising with the ranks, and we have this cadre candidate that we're running, and they won. Like that's the type of shit that gets people to join DSA. That's real socialist electoral work. Joining in and basically providing slave labor for Democrats it's not socialist electoral work.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, the main thing, there's this like fundamental misunderstanding, right? Of like, for a communist, what is the purpose of elections in the here and now? It's like it's to get our message out there, it's to cohere forces, it's to counter forces, it's to get people literally out there talking with the masses. And too often there's just this short-term myopic mentality. We want to
What's wrong with being myopic?
Yeah, well, you know, you don't but in the long term, right? But and people think that we treat elections like any other bourgeois dog does, right? Like we don't give a fuck if we get to run New York tomorrow because it's going to be a fucking
We're not going to run
disaster
New York
if
tomorrow. Zoran is going to run New York tomorrow.
That's what I'm saying. But even let's say Zoran came, let's like as a hypothetical. Let's say Zoran got in.
He's
Man,
not.
he had our.
He's down 12 points.
He's not. But let's say
because he's defended
did.
globalized the Intifada.
Yeah.
I don't actually think
but, you know,
it's because of Liberation Caucus signing on to that statement. Well, shit, if a brand new fucking caucus could literally impact the New York City mayoral election, the most important city in the world, by the way, if we can literally do that, then maybe we need to be running shit.
Yeah,
saying.
good point. Good point.
Yeah.
I mean, we know how to get attention.
But so let's say that he does get it. The problem is that there's going to be sabotage at every fucking level. There's
Yeah,
going
they
to be
literally
capital
kidnapped Bill de
flight.
Blasio's
There's gonna be
daughter.
sabotage. Yeah. There's going to be sabotage by every fucking head bureaucrat. And then there's going to be chaos. And then they're going to blame the socialists. The socialists
If
can't
he
run
wins,
shit.
if he wins, he's going to be a one-term lame duck. That's it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
going to be, it's
and
actually,
New York City DSA leadership is gonna cave in on every fucking thing, everything that they get blamed for. They're gonna be like, "Oh, we're sorry, we didn't mean this."
People are going to remember that at convention, and hopefully there will be the case for a very, very strong left-wing bloc to take over New York City DSA.
of course, then we're going to have to like deal with the fact that like so many people who get duped by the bourgeois media believe that it's the fault of quote unquote socialists or whatever.
Right. This is why we gotta build up our media apparatus and push our message.
Yeah,
that's why we're all here.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
And that's why I hate this like line that you get from DSA people that like statements don't matter, man. Like
Yes, they do.
Why are we bothering making statements? It doesn't matter. What matters is the actions we take and
what actions are you taking?
Material demands.
What actions are you taking? Doing what Malcolm X would call a begolution, like writing petitions, endless petitions to members of Congress.
Well, that's like there's this idea that like it just doesn't matter like what candidates
it does
say.
matter.
Like it doesn't matter what we say.
It's a basic
idealism, and what we say is just symbolic speech acts, and that's not material.
That's why our messaging. Look, that's why our messaging is so fucked.
I know
because there's no actual part of leadership is putting out your position.
I know
your line on things, and so you go and try to canvass in say Bay Ridge, with a heavily Palestinian community, or Chicago, Bridgeport, heavily Palestinian community. They would ask, "What is your line on my people's liberation?" We literally came over after the first Intifada. My dad was literally shot in the knee. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to help Palestinian people? And then why do you still continue to back AOC, who literally said that my people should be destroyed? Well, she didn't say that Palestinians deserve to be destroyed, but she basically did by saying that Israel has the right to exist. And she also called Palestinian protesters anti-Semites for protesting that horrible Nova bullshit that they've been parading from town to town. So like people are gonna ask you these hard questions. And like the proletariat, like you cannot lie and be like, well, what she really meant. Like, no, people are gonna be like, you know what, you're full of shit, get the fuck off my door. That's what people are going to say. And your feelings are going to be hurt, and your candidate is going to lose because you allowed for opportunism. So yes, statements are important because you have to take a clear line. If you are afraid to take a clear line on something, why the fuck are you running candidates?
Right. My response to them is like, oh, I guess we can telepathically I guess we can telepathically communicate our positions to the proletariat. Then we don't need to make statements and speech acts.
DSA doesn't even
use our vibes and our auras to communicate our positions.
DSA doesn't even really like organize the proletariat. It organizes other PMC, organizes other petty bourgeois people. It organizes downwardly mobile petty bourgeois people who are at risk for proletarianization, but even then, their outlook is still going to be fundamentally PMC, and their goal is going to be to regain their PMC status. For example, these federal workers that were getting fucked over by Doge. I don't care how many fucking FBI agents the fucking Elon Musk fired, but like, you rush to that. But you did not hearken to the Palestinian trade unions that were saying, hey, y'all need to be fucking shit up over there. But you run to defend federal workers. Why? Because all your friends work for the feds or they want to work for the feds. Like, of course, you're going to defend your own class interests. And you're like, oh, yeah, these are our workers. And I'm like, they're PMC bureaucrats. But again, that's who DSA appeals to.
Yeah, it's
like
hard
basic words mean things. You don't know the difference between a socialist and a social democrat. You don't know the difference between the proletariat and the petty bourgeois. You don't even know your basic ABCs of Marxism. You're running around calling yourself a socialist. You're an insult to the millions who died in the streets of Stalingrad under our red flag. You're trifling with our name, and you're stepping on and spitting on that red flag. That's why we have to promote actual real fucking political education.
It's pretty crazy to look at like the most important socialist organizers in history and ask yourself, how much time did they spend reading, writing, giving speeches, coming up with a quote unquote message, I think it's probably fair to say that the majority of Lenin's time before October was spent doing just that, right?
Yeah.
Writing, reading, thinking, developing a message. And one cannot say that he was not effective or that the Bolsheviks were not effective. Like, you cannot say that. They were absolutely able to seize on opportunities in ways that,
like, DSA has literally foregone 3 or 4 excellent political organizers. Like, where were we during the encampment movement? Why DSA was out there, but big DSA.
YDSA is probably more. I mean, it is more effective of an organization than DSA is at this point.
Yeah,
because YDSA is out there.
Because it's also led by people with a better political line.
Yeah.
It is, honestly. I mean, yeah, let's think of the major. So what have been the major uprisings of the last 5 years, 6 years? I mean, right now in LA, what the fuck is DSA doing? I haven't heard.
I heard they ran off.
Yeah, DSA LA was like briefly on the Wikipedia page, like describing the factions, but then got like removed from it. It's like, I saw someone being, "Oh, don't worry, we got removed." I'm like, why would you want that to happen? You should want DSA to be listed there.
The People's City Council boys gave me a shitload of tea on them, but I'm not going to share all of it here. But yeah NYC, LA, and Atlanta are probably the 3 like most iffy branches of DSA.
What about DC? I think DC is up there too.
DC is actually getting better.
It's been getting better. That's good.
Yeah, I know people out there. They're actually getting better.
Well, actually, I think there was like an investigation of some hijinks and stuff, and some stuff has changed in DC. I've heard, but yeah, Atlanta,
then I'll
LA, and New York are definitely
New York, from what I remember, was just awful.
Yeah, well, New York as a city is awful.
Belly of the beast, belly of the belly of the beast.
Well, I'm in the belly of the beast as well.
No, you're not. You're in you live in, I believe, Maryland.
Yeah, I live in Maryland, bro.
So no, it's more like the lungs of the belly of the beast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't live. You're talking about like defense contractors. That's like all North Virginia. Oh my god, that place is scary, man. That place
Pentagon City, baby.
Yeah, that place is scary. I do not like.
When I landed, I went to DC last July. When I landed there, we landed at Reagan, which is in northern.
No, it's national. Don't call it Reagan.
National. But anyways, we landed there, and like, just for one, all of y'all's metro stops are nuclear fallout shelters. Like, it's just like,
oh yeah. No, it's deliberately
that's literally what
designed that way.
Yeah, and like, okay, so that's creepy, but they're also beautiful.
No, they're cool. I like them.
Yeah.
Then just going through is just like, okay, I saw the Pentagon, and then like it's all just like it's weird, and that's where all the retired senators and Congress people live. Like, I think Gerald Ford lived up there, and like
all the defense contractors basically live in McLean. Maryland is more like other parts of the U.S. state.
Bureaucrats,
like NIH, FDA, CDC.
So which agency do you work for?
Well, I was NIH for many years, National Institute of Health.
Holy shit. I literally was like, so which Fed were you? And you're like, oh, yeah, I was a Fed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I worked on clinical data for many years. Yeah. We were part of developing the vaccine, so.
Yeah, you were part of the COVID conspiracy.
Yeah, I'm part of the COVID.
Why'd you kill all those
Dr.
people,
Fauci? And
no, I'm sorry I did that. I didn't realize I did. No, trust me, I'm fully aware of what NIH is.
What do you mean trust? What do you mean trust you? You're a fucking Fed.
I'm not the dangerous side, I don't think. I wasn't also.
No, you are an agent of the Klaus Schwab Great Reset. Okay, we know.
You almost killed my mom.
I'm sorry.
Klaus Schwab isn't even in the game anymore. He got replaced.
Oof.
Now the real Great Reset is being led by Trump.
No, I'm leading it. Trump is my puppet. He's Malema's puppet. No. Well, Musk turned him into Malema's puppet because the ANC, MK turned Musk before he fled South Africa. and he got to Trump, and now he's he's basically like a degree of separation from the EFF. The EFF controls America.
Well, that means we got to deport Musk back to South Africa. So
yeah, why do you think Trump is talking about reopening Alcatraz? It's for the boys. Like half of those, like those people were literally like, like these people thought they were going to get a house, free cell phone, health insurance, a farm, and a car coming in. Like, bro, you have to put it like you have to either be a fleeing dictator like Marcos, or you have to have done a genocide to get that type of shit. Y'all were literally flown over here as political tools. Y'all literally abandoned y'all shit over there.
Wait, so they actually promised this shit?
Yeah, that's what these people thought they were going to be getting. Those various Boer groups over there that thought, yeah, you can go to America and they will take care of you.
Yeah.
And you can keep your land. The blocks are not going to take your land. You can keep your farm, but you go over there and you'll be rich. One thing any South African would tell you about Boers is that these people are like the biggest fucking grifters ever.
Oh my God.
They literally, even the Brits when they went over there, like
they
they were like these people. These people, if the blacks weren't here, these people would have starved to death.
Yeah,
they don't do their farm, they don't do roads. They just literally just sit in a fucking hovel, a fucking cottage all day and drink, and then go out and start shooting all the animals around.
They drink, they shoot, and they play rugby. It's basically it.
Oh yeah, they're damn good. Like they're damn good mercenaries. Like they're damn good soldiers. Like, but you have an entire nation of people that's all just good at killing people. Like this, you have basically a race of cops. That's what they're good at. Like that's their. Like you talk to one of them, they're like, oh yeah, my dad, he was a cop, or he was a soldier, or he worked on Robben Island. He actually met Mandela. Nice man.
In jail, yeah.
I'm surprised more of them, I guess I'm not that surprised because it's like there actually isn't a genocide happening, so there really isn't much reason for them to come here. But like, there really wasn't that many people that came here. Like, it was just
50. Yeah, they're like
50 of them.
Especially like a lot of the younger boys, they're like, you know what? Okay, like your grandma, grandpa, you guys did apartheid, you did some fucked up shit. Now we're here, and you know what? Fuck it. Like that's how a lot of the Boers are. Like they still see themselves as like a distinct minority within South Africa. But like, bro, my people came over here in 1750. Why the fuck would I leave to go to America?
I think also probably the US is no longer projecting the same like lie that you come here and you just become affluent and your life is amazing.
You're fleeing if you're supposedly fleeing from black people, because that's what this whole thing is about. If you're supposedly fleeing black people, why the fuck would you move to a country with 44 million black people?
Yeah, and then also like you can't exploit them as ruthlessly. You can, but
because we'll shoot you.
Yeah,
we have guns.
Yeah, so
we have guns.
So it's like there's like literally no material incentive for people.
Imagine like this 90-year-old Afrikaner who's literally descended from Voorwoud, and she comes here, and the first thing she sees at the airport, okay, they make her land in Detroit, and the first thing she sees is a black dude laughing at her, and she has an instant heart attack. You told me there were no fucking coffers here.
Yo, Kilgore Kraut saying spitting some truth.
Or like you have fucking
I doubt it, dude. Yeah.
You have fucking Eugene Terreblanche who literally tried to fuck the people on his farm, and he tried to rape the dude, and the dude came out with a fucking machete and hacked his head off. Like these are some sick fuckers.
Yeah, that's
or like trying to cheat people out of their wages. Like, bro, you literally had us under apartheid, and you still try to think you're slick. I'm gonna fuck you up. Like it's like settlers.
Yeah,
it's like settlers never learn.
Yeah, and settler colonialism develops this like viciousness and cruelty in human beings that is just like unbelievable. And you still have the remnants of that, just like that violence, even in the US, just like lunatic shootings, like 5-year-olds in schools. It just breeds like this just contempt for life and just like this like cruelty that's just unparalleled. I mean, you think about all of the major settler colonies, and all of them basically suffer from egregious violence.
Look at fucking Donnie, an evil, vicious, and cruel man.
Yeah, man, look at him. No, Don's good, man. Don's a good one.
He's got the fucking Mayflower phenotype and the Mayflower hairline.
No, I'm not a cruel man.
Don is a good one, man. He just listens to prog rock and knows a ton about conspiracies and communist shit. He's a good one. He's a good American.
I've known Donnie for years. Like even before Marxist Center shit, I think.
Were y'all both involved in Marxist Center?
Hell no.
Okay, yeah.
He was. I wasn't.
Don, you were, right?
I was never actually a member, but I was always kind of adjacent and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like
did
a
interact
sympathizer.
with Marxist Center people like quite a lot. Yeah, I did interact a lot with them. They had some interesting people, but yeah.
I wanted it to succeed, but I had,
That's
me and Donnie are the OGs for like walking.
Yeah, we go way back
Rolodexes.
to left book days.
We're like rolling. Yeah, we're like walking Rolodexes / encyclopedias of 2010s, early 2020s left history.
Yeah, I was also. I started really getting involved in like 2014, 15. So I've been at this shit, for like too long. Yeah, too long. Jesus Christ. Okay,
we're talking about South Africa.
Who left? Who right? Come on, son. Who left?
Hard to play it.
Kill a man. Kiribata. Samarumo. Samarumo. Asicha. Where were you when I'm sitting? Where were you when I'm dreaming? So fast kitchen. Emoye. So fast kitchen. Etlati. Kichi. Kichima. Bonge laban. Ebagit. Bonge laban. Ebagit. Silta tile. Elagit. Silta tile. Elagit. Shoot to kill. Yamasa. Shoot to kill. Kill a man. Kill the poor. The farmer.
Sounds like you're singing "Kill the Poor."
Yeah.
The farmer. Brr, pa.
Kill the boy.
Pa. Brr, pa. Pa. Tension.
It literally sounds like you were singing. I know it's his accent, but it literally sounds like he's singing "Kill the Poor."
Yeah. There's that Dead Kennedy song, kill, 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 kill.
Yeah.
I love the Dead Kennedys because they wrote the song "Kill the Poor," which sounds like "Kill the Boar."
No, but you literally do got to do someone's got to do a cover of that song, "Kill the Boar." Kill, 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 kill the
Do
boar.
I have any stories about what Kyle are you talking about? Like, this is the left in the United States.
I
Everybody's
think
named
they're
Kyle.
talking about Kyle Pettis of the ACP.
Oh, yeah. I know he's really, really obsessed with like dressing like he's from the fucking 70s. But yeah, weird guy.
Yeah, he kind of seems like he's trying to LARP as like an NKVD agent. Is kind of the vibe I get from him.
Yeah, he's a weird guy. But the left is full of weird guys.
The ACP is just a bunch of fucking weird guys, man.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? I just don't like. I just don't see why people waste so much time talking about them. They thrive on attention.
That is true.
People keep giving them attention. Like, I love Johnny Socialism, but like, I'm like, bro, you can't. Just spend your
He does talk about them a lot.
You can't just spend your entire fucking life obsessing over these people. If you quit giving them attention, they're going, look, for one, people stupid enough to join shit like this, they probably wouldn't be all that much use in any real organization in the first place. If they wanted to join and give all their fucking money to a fucking 5 foot tall Lebanese crackhead, that's on them. Like, go. That's your business. Like, part of our rights as Americans is being fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I like to dunk on them because they're kind of fun to dunk on, and it is kind of like watching like one of those HBO documentaries about a cult. But like,
wait, dude, are we talking about ACP?
Yeah, ACP.
Okay. See, I love how I walked in and I heard stupid and cult, and I was like, oh,
yeah, it's like watching one of those HBO documentaries about a cult, but like in real time.
Yeah, the left wing Rajneeshis.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they're going to be poisoning
Yeah,
a salad bar anytime soon.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to go anywhere as a communist party, but I think they will.
Because they're not communists.
No, they're not. They're Duganist is what they are.
Well, who cares?
Yo, it would be pretty
I'm still
awesome,
tripping off.
though.
I'm still tripping off like in real time. You saw Alexander Dugin be like, protests in Los Angeles are direct version of Ukrainian Maidan. They oppose Trump because Trump is America first. And then you have Jackson Hinkle. The protests in LA are not organic. And then ACP. The protests in LA are not organic. I'm like, bro, this okay. If y'all want to work for the Russians, that's fucking fine. I don't care. Like
Really weird.
And like people are like Jackson. People don't even know Jackson Hinkle lives in Russia now. Like that's why he's able to gallivant all over the fucking world.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Wait, that's the guy who was in Yemen, right? With like
Yemen, and he was also at Nasrallah's funeral as well. Like he's basically, and like I think the Yemenis and the Lebanese, like they know that he's full of shit, but they also like, okay, he has fucking 2.3 million followers. You know what? Let's lose him and get our shit out there. Like they know what he's doing. They know what he's doing. They're just using him. More power to them. That's their business. I can't tell people who they want.
Like, wow, American, like who's also like not living in America, so we don't have to worry about him getting like Git mode and fucking having all his info extracted, right? So,
I would be kind of worried about him like leaking info to the Russians, though.
Oh, he works for the fucking Russians. Anything that you tell him is leaked to the Russians. Like they're not letting him live there for free.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like everyone's like, oh, Jackson Hinkle, he's this great independent voice, but it's like, well, he's admitted to having a personal driver in Moscow. He has like a nice studio that he cast from. Who's paying for this? Is it being paid for by like private donations? I don't think so.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he's
maybe
he's an American double agent. I don't fucking know. Maybe he's over there fucking the Russians.
He works
for the
Americans.
Yeah,
he works for the Russians.
You can work for whoever you want, little boy, little dude.
But yeah, and I think Russia is basically like they're not as Zionist as the United States, but like they're pretty Zionist.
Yeah. Everybody's got to work for somebody. You work for the Russians. He works for the Russians. I work for the Chinese. You work for the British. We all work for somebody.
That's the LaRouche'ites claim. Is that I must be a British agent since I don't like them.
Wait, what? Is this actual conspiracy that are?
No, it's just I'm just joking around, but that's like the LaRouche'ites whole thing is that like everybody's a British asset.
If I worked for the Chinese, I would be in PSL, not DSA.
And you'd have, you'd live in a big old mansion. And,
I'd be able to afford far better hats. Well, this is a camera.
The gold version.
LL Red.
I don't know, man. I love
Why did Hinkle did an event? Why are we talking about this fucking guy? He did an event with the EFF because the EFF wanted him to do an event. They wanted
because he has. It really comes down to like he has reach. They wanted his reach. They don't. They wanted really,
They don't really agree with his fucking line. Like people use people. Like
exactly.
If I give an interview to the fucking Wall Street Journal, that doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with the positions that are put out by the Wall Street Journal. That means that I want my position to be out amongst people who read the Wall Street Journal. So, somebody got pet birds?
That is not my pet birds, but it is the sound of birds outside my house. Yes.
Ooh, fascinating.
He's in Florida.
I'm in Florida, so I guess
Florida.
You got a Florida nature.
Yeah, I actually know a comrade in your branch.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very nice guy. Very nice, very dedicated, very lumpen.
Yeah, I know.
But that's the type of people that liberation attracts.
Somebody says BRG interview would be the first real journalism Wall Street Journal has ever done.
Yeah, I guess being a left-wing micro celebrity has its perks.
This comment. He's living and running Jesse at the end of Breaking Bad with the white supremacist drinking crack. Jesus Christ. Maybe. I think I think it's a bit better. He probably is getting a lot out of it. nice apartment in Moscow.
All I gotta say though is like, this guy, how old is he? He's in early 20s. I don't think this whole thing is gonna end well for him. Like, playing with geopolitical intrigue when you're like that out of your element is just, it doesn't end well for people like that. It's not gonna end well for him.
Especially when you're fucking with the Russians.
Yeah, you're fucking with the Russians. You're getting involved in things that are way beyond your power levels.
Shit you don't even understand. You contradict
you don't
yourself.
Understand. Like, this is how you end up dead in a ditch, Jackson. Like,
you contradict yourself every 5 fucking minutes. Honestly, the Russians probably think he's an American spy.
Yeah, they probably do, and then they will get rid of him as soon as they don't need him anymore.
That's the case.
Yeah, they can get you wherever.
So this is the thing about Russia, is Russia does not give a shit about the global South, but they want to create the impression that they do. So they use people like Jackson Hinkle to like as a kind of Potemkin broadcaster to create.
Or Ghazi or Amali Yeshitela, who literally lives in my city.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically a form of Potemkinism where. Because in reality is, Putin just recently said himself that he's not going to get involved to help Iran because there's 2 million Russian speakers in Israel, and in his mind, Israel might as well be a Russian-speaking country in his mind. So he's, but he doesn't care that Jackson Hinkle runs around and spouts off all this anti-Zionist stuff because he wants to win the hearts and minds of the global South, even if it has nothing to do with Russia's actual positions.
It's politics.
Yeah, and Russia plays a hugely reactionary role, and like in the Sahel right now, it's a fucking disaster. I mean, first off, they've
got Wagner Group running around down there,
like committing.
All the Russians give a shit about us. All the Russians give a shit about us. Their fucking gold. Yeah, we'll build you a fucking dinky little nuclear power plant, but give us a 99-year concession on your gold.
Meanwhile,
so what is your take on what's going on in the Sahel and kind of?
Yes, I fucks with it. Like, it's definitely better than the French running shit.
Right.
Ibrahim Traore, he's I think he's definitely in the spirit of Sankara, but he's also like between a rock and a hard place. Like, if he, I guess he feels that, okay, I need a fucking sponsor. I need a big brother. Otherwise, the French and the Americans are going to come back, and then I'm going to end up just like Sankara did. Like, somebody in my own fucking movement is going to coup me. So I'm not going to act like I understand exactly how he's thinking, but I get it, because like Sankara was taken out by one of his own boys, by Blaise Compaoré, who was running the country until he himself was overthrown. So Ibrahim Traore is not stupid. The comrades in Mali, Niger, they're not stupid. Like, and yes, it sucks that they feel compelled to embrace Russian junior imperialism, but you can't make it by yourself in this world. Like, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso really cannot stand alone. And this is the same region of the world where Gaddafi was. Like, they remember this man being literally dragged out of the man who literally funded movements all over the world. He even gave weapons to the IRA. He offered Louis Farrakhan and the NOI money and weapons, and Farrakhan, being Farrakhan, took the money. But anyways.
I mean, Gaddafi was. He was
Gaddafi. He was Gaddafi.
In personal terms, was a crazy guy.
But he was. I've read his Green Book. There's 2 books that I would like. They're tied for the weirdest fucking book I've read. One
Green
was
Book is up there. Green Book is up
Green
there.
Book, and the other one was the Runama or whatever, written by that dictator in Turkmenistan, Niyazov.
Yeah, I'm sure it's about that level.
But it was nuts.
He was on the right side of history many times. Talking about he
was probably the one stupid thing, well, besides writing that little green book, but he also sheltered Idi Amin, and I think he eventually got tired of Amin shit and kicked him out of the country.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was on the right side of history more times than not. And I don't think people understand this, but it was the collaboration of the US, the French, and the Italians in turning Libya from the country with the best standard of living to a literal slave society. It was that destruction that caused the ripple effects in the whole Sahel, and that destabilized the Sahel. in immediate terms, what happened was is that the Gaddafi, to protect himself, hired a lot of Tamachek or Tuareg warriors or mercenaries to fight for him, and he gave them like a ton of guns and like crazy shit, like uranium tip, like just crazy shit that like they had never
Uranium tipped what?
shells and stuff like the crazy shit, bro. Like just crazy weaponry.
He gave them uranium tipped artillery shells.
I think I've heard that. He gave, what if it's not that, he gave them crazy weaponry. Now the Tamachek or the Tuareg,
Fucking golden eye shit.
yeah, exactly. They're a nomadic people who had suffered a lot of repression from Mali, Niger, Algeria. And so once they got their hands on those guns and Gaddafi's regime toppled, they had this grudge and all this weaponry. So they went back to those countries
and became bandits.
and we're like, no. And they were like, we're going to get what's ours. Like, fuck you. And so they like took over North Mali and they formed like relationships with like crazy Islamists who started just whiling. And they're like, can y'all chill the fuck out? And they
became bandits.
So what happened was that Mali, which was actually a stable fucking country, like just completely fell apart because of that invasion. And that led to the dynamics of the military taking power, and the military is just staffed by unprincipled lunatics. And then you have them inviting the French to try to like crush this uprising in the north. And then the French start fucking going crazy, and there's war crimes. And there's also like, you know, at first many Malians were like, yeah, come in French. Yay, the French will help us. And then after like, you know, however many years, they're like, get the fuck out. We're sick.
Why would they think the French would help them? Have they forgotten their history?
Well, Mali was like, it's not like Algeria. It was a colony. It was colonized, and they suffered French crimes. But there wasn't a settler population, and quite frankly, they were also granted independence. There wasn't really a revolution, right? Whereas Algeria, by the end of the French conquest, 50% of the Algerian population was dead. Like, it was one of the worst genocides of the 19th century in terms of decimation of population, and the settler colonialism really just like uprooted life and changed things drastically. So there still is a deep hatred amongst Algerians about what the French did, but there isn't that same memory for Malians. So many of them were a bit naive about the French, but then of course the French came in and started pulling their bullshit, and then they're like, okay, we'll get the fuck out of here. And that's when they invited Wagner. So in other words, Wagner is there more or less because the US, France, and Italy fucking destroyed Libya, which caused total chaos in the Sahel. The Malians invited the French to try to help them with that. The French didn't fucking solve the issue and started causing other fucking problems. And so that's why Wagner is there. In other words, because the US, France, and Italy destroyed the fucking region. And so those are the dynamics that also like put in place someone like Ibrahim Traore, right? Who I obviously plays off the legacy of Sankara, but one of the things, first off, one thing is I've been to that region. People fucking love Sankara.
Of course they do.
People love that man. They love that man. He's a lovable man. He was a great man.
Yeah, I mean, he is like one of the great revolutionaries.
He is an incredible, incredible man. But the thing I don't understand about Ibrahim Traore is I don't get his ideology at all. Thomas Sankara was very clearly a Marxist, an anti-imperialist.
I would describe Traore as, and like Maoists in general don't like coups generally because like they're not rooted in the people. Usually what happens is a coup happens and the people support it because it's better than what was there before. So I would probably describe Traore and the AES as probably like progressive nationalist, like progressive nationalism or something like that.
Yeah,
like it's good to be able to grow your own food. It's good to be able to produce your own energy. It's good to be able to process your own raw materials. But that does not necessarily mean that the country's on a socialist path. But it's still better than the French running amok in the country. It's still better than Islamists running amok in the country. It's still better than having to import your own food and
Yeah.
not being food. Like the thing is, like, people are always like, oh, we feed Africa. No, my ancestors were able to feed ourselves. Like,
yeah.
until the Europeans came and started basically turning these countries into one mineral or one crop economies. For example, in Ghana, it was called the Gold Coast for a reason. The Ivory Coast, it was called the Ivory Coast for a reason. You had, like, okay, you're a colony, you're going to produce cocoa. In the Congo, you're going to produce rubber. If you don't produce a quota of rubber every day, we're going to cut off your fucking hands.
Yeah, exactly.
So Egypt, it was cotton. So he basically disrupted the entire economic life of these countries. Like when you read Rodney's How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, Europe manufactured these farmers. They did the same thing in India. Like, how the fuck are you going to have a country, an area of a country that's a literal breadbasket, bingo, literal fucking marsh, perfect for rice, starving to death? Oh, because you took the rice to feed your other colonies. Same thing with Ireland. Ireland could grow its own food, but you had people blame it all on the blight. No, the British were literally going around house to house, taking their fucking food away.
And also the other aspect that people understand about the colonization of Ireland is very much was that, like, the capitalists bought up all of the good land in Ireland and pushed the Irish peasantry more and more into a western part where they were basically farming rocks, right? And so they couldn't grow anything anyways. It actually, something very similar happened in Algeria, which is that
they drove y'all off the coast into the desert.
Yeah, or if you were beneath the coast in the plain of Mitijda, which is an extremely fertile region. It fed the totality of the Roman Empire in terms of wheat. They kicked the people off those lands, gave them to settlers, and drove them off into the rocks, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, just to respond to Zolo, I wouldn't say it's left Bonapartism or Bonapartism, because Napoleon III, in terms of class basis, it's the big bourgeoisie.
That was a third?
Yeah.
Oh, that was the guy that Marx wrote about.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was the big bourgeoisie and it was the peasantry, right? And you had to reconcile these classes. But finally, it was about establishing the conditions for accumulation for the big bourgeoisie. That's, I don't think, the project of an Ibrahim Traoré, which is to use the state to attempt to basically build the productive forces in a way that, quote unquote, develops the country, right? I don't think that there's the same intensely pro-capitalist, laissez-faire aspect to an Ibrahim Traoré. I think he's just probably a left nationalist, bourgeois nationalist. Develop the productive forces, make the country more independent, right? And to be fair, given what was there, it's better. It's a lot better.
Our very own Deng Xiaoping.
Yeah.
With the uniform.
Yeah. I mean, but from what I can tell, he doesn't want to sell, from what I know. I don't know that much, is unfortunately the case, but I don't have the feeling that he wants to sell his people's labor power on the global market as intensely as a Deng. That was Deng was acutely aware of that. He's like, what we're going to do is we're going to sell our labor power on the global market.
Deng didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, exactly. It was, and I have the feeling that Traoré is a bit more quote unquote humanist than that, right? But the thing is, it's worth looking into actually, because he is a really interesting character and he does play off of the martyrdom and the legacy of Thomas Sankara, who
is his country's national hero.
Yeah, and even in South Mali, when if you talk to people in South Mali, they love him. It's not just people in Burkina Faso, it's people in Mali. They love him.
Well, I mean, Sankara did have he had a goal of uniting Africa. He did have a very Pan-Africanist bent to his goal.
Yeah, he's one of the people I wish I could meet so badly.
Everybody loves Tom.
Yeah,
I think I am really worried about how well the insurgencies are doing in the Sahel. It is very concerning. Everything I hear about it is kind of just bad news, basically. So it is concerning. I did hear that the Wagner group is leaving Mali, possibly.
Yeah, nobody wants fucking foreign mercenaries running around.
Right,
in
that's
the
the
country.
thing is like,
And
so,
Wagner Group has done some pretty fucking nasty war crimes.
yeah, like everything I hear about the Wagner Group in the Sahel region is really nasty stuff, and so
Yeah.
but like you
Like,
said, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, you know, because
You got to have, because your national military is fucking like it's not
Yeah.
enough. So you have to have somebody to come help you. Otherwise, it's just going to be endless chaos.
Yeah.
And then what happens is like you have endless chaos, and the next thing you know, you've been toppled. So
Yeah.
right,
that whole region of the world, like you said, it's fucked because of the machinations of the Italians, NATO, and the United States.
Yeah, and the French, man. So there's an aspect to the French intervention in Libya, which is that Nicolas Sarkozy, who was the president of France, he had, let's say, good relations with Gaddafi, and it's been shown that actually Gaddafi.
So did Obama. Like Gaddafi was so happy when Obama got elected. Like, yes, finally we've got somebody who's descended from Africa. And then Obama was like, "Oh,
But
go fuck
Sarkozy,
and Tony Blair too.
Sarkozy is a little different because it was shown that Sarkozy was getting basically suitcases of money from Gaddafi. He was basically being bribed by Gaddafi.
Why would you send Nicolas Sarkozy suitcases full of money?
What do you think? You know, I mean, to get influence. And like,
was he sending Obama suitcases full of money too?
No. I think he, you know, it was kind of like Fidel's sort of like happiness about Obama being elected. There was a lot of hope, right?
Yeah,
and,
hopium.
Quickly dashed.
Yeah. So, but no, with Sarkozy, it was just some straight corrupt shit. So Sarkozy very likely also initiated that war to get rid of the evidence, right? Like, it was also, I think, in many ways,
didn't he go to jail?
Yeah, because of this shit. Like, like where he's in trouble because of this shit, because he took like bribes from like Gaddafi, you know, which is like, for the French, it's like having an Arab bribe your president is like, you know, they can't live with that. They can't live. It's beneath them, right? So
we are the descendants of Charlemagne. We are not bought by Filzial.
Yeah, exactly. by the Saracens, you know. So, but it's pretty.
These people almost destroyed our country at the Battle of Troy, and you are taking money from them.
Yeah. So, you know, so it's actually kind of a hilarious scandal, but with very tragic consequences. But there's also that personal aspect. I think Berlusconi also might have been on the take from Gaddafi.
Of course, he's Italian.
Yeah, you know. Well, Berlusconi take money from anyone, you know, like literally anyone. He was, you know, he's bunga bunga, you know. So
yeah.
Do you guys know that? Do you guys know about that?
Yeah, sex parties.
Yeah, he's, oh my god. So,
what a terrible guy. And I guess I can see Traore also kind of remind me of Nasser in a way.
Who?
Nasser.
Yeah. I mean, Nasser, though, did have his whole socialistic, you know, he did try to cover things in the patina of socialism, which is...
yeah, you have to. In that part of the world, socialism is extremely popular.
Yeah. No, I mean, but what's it called? But I don't think, Ibrahim Traore, and maybe it's just the times, maybe if this were the 80s and Ibrahim Traore was around, he would have said, I'm a socialist or whatever. But I don't see
consider like a lot of these like neo-colonial parties in places like Mozambique, etc. They have like socialist origins.
Yeah.
Frelimo, etc. And like a lot of people, because of the way that they have declined since seizing power, the ANC in particular.
Yeah.
And like socialism is kind of like, okay, this is fucky. Like you basically have all the old gorillas getting fat and rich and wearing suits, and meantime everybody else gets fucked. So like
it's the story of Algeria. The FLN is not popular anymore.
Yeah.
Because the failures of the post-colonial project are associated with.
It's a funny story about the Black Panthers. You guys actually hosted the Black Panthers for a long time.
Oh yeah, I know.
Y'all had
my grandfather got to meet many of them.
Yeah, and there's actually a book. It's in this stack behind me somewhere. But like the Black Panthers were literally over running a fucking stolen car ring and a whole bunch of other shit. They were like selling drugs. It was like it was hilarious. And I remember.
Do you guys know about the? I mean, Elbridge Cleaver in Algeria was a disaster.
It was, and like he was, I think,
He
one
killed.
of the
He
he
killed.
killed people, and Boumediene lit him.
Yeah, he killed. What's it called? His wife or partner was having an affair, and he killed the man who was having an affair with his wife, and then like
buried him in the fucking desert.
Yeah, no, not even like half buried, like out in the like outskirts of Algiers. And someone like witnessed it and found it like 10 minutes later. And so the FLN are like, what the fuck are you doing in our country? Just killing people. And he was like making all kinds of accusations. So they kicked him out. And then he just
because he started. The main thing was y'all started selling oil to the natural gas to the Americans. And Elbridge Cleaver was like, he's like, why are y'all selling oil to the end? Why are y'all selling shit to the enemy? We're over here fighting the struggle. And the Algerians were like, no, you're not. You're over here committing crimes in our country, killing people. First of all, we're independent. You guys aren't. Maybe if you got off your ass, you would have an independent country of your own. Maybe instead of like doing stupid shit, you should stop being fucking palace revolutionaries and actually make the revolution. And Eldridge was pissed. I think that's a major part of what turned him away from like left-wing shit. He ended up becoming a Mormon and a Republican.
Oh yeah. He went in a really weird direction.
Yeah, he got too much of a dose of reality from the Algerians, I guess.
It was funny as hell that he basically held Timothy Leary hostage.
I was about to bring that up,
money.
Because in that book, Acid Dreams, they also talk about I guess Leary like smuggled like 1 million hits of LSD into Algeria, and he wanted to like turn on Africa and like bring LSD into Africa.
Yeah, and Eldridge beat the shit out of him and locked him in the basement. Took all his money. I think all his drugs too. So then Leary surfaces in Afghanistan, and he snitches on Cleaver, the Weather Underground, and everybody else that helped him.
Yeah, these people. It's kind of nuts. The whole like counterculture, fucking like presence in Algeria. I always find it absolutely nuts. Like Algerians actually had a very, very interesting relationship with the US because, like, for instance, in downtown Algiers, like right in the center, there was like a cultural center, like Black American cultural center, where like Algerians could go and like listen to music and like so like there's like a deep love of Motown and like the older generation Algerians. It's like crazy. Yeah, they like love that stuff, and it's
if this was a game of Civ, Black Americans would have been won the cultural.
Yeah, no, it's definitely.
Yeah, but so it's like there's like it's worth people looking into. I know Algeria sounds like an obscure country, but there was like a pretty deep connection between Black revolutionaries.
I go to Algiers and like if I go to Algiers and like I'm driving in the fucking cab with this old Algerian. How do you know the Temptations, Habibi? That is before your time. I love him. Long live Eldridge Cleaver, Habibi.
He would not know 2 words of English, but he would know all the lyrics to them. Yes.
I got sunshine on cloudy day. That would be hilarious.
But it's
like
that. It's an interesting history. I always found it.
I really want to go over there. Like it's a beautiful fucking country.
Oh yeah. Well, you're welcome. If you ever come, we'll help you. If you ever come, you'll be treated great. You'll have a place to stay. You'll have good food. One thing is for sure, you're gonna eat well.
Oh yeah, I love Mediterranean food.
Oh man, it's Mediterranean food, but with spice. So it's fire. It's like more spices than basically the only thing that competes is like Lebanese, Syrian.
Yeah, I love all that shit.
Like
it's good stuff. Did you see that one Lebanese restaurant in the UK that it was advertising itself with like I'll find it real quick. Hold on.
Yo, find this shit. Yeah.
It's really fucking funny.
Yeah, but Algeria is a mess right now. It's fucking. It's depressing.
So do y'all have any more questions for me? Grill me about things.
Well, where do you see things going in DSA?
Where do I see things going in DSA?
Ideally versus what you expect.
Civil war. We're going to kill each other at convention. No, I'm joking. I definitely see the thing with the hard left is that when a Democrat is in power, a lot of people are more inclined to agree with and vote for rightist bullshit. But when Donna, you're making me hungry. But when shit's going south, like we've had like 4 major crises this month alone. people tend to agree with and vote for the left more. Like,
Yeah.
so I definitely think that this is going to be a very good convention for the left. I'm proud and happy to be a delegate, and I look forward to. Donnie, are you going to convention?
I am not a delegate this time, but I might try to go as an observer. So
Ooh.
we'll see.
Well, hopefully we link up if you go.
No, if I am, oh yeah, if I'm there, I'll definitely be meeting up with
two most hated men in DSA.
Yeah, I was gonna say we
Well,
definitely have our share of haters in DSA.
Well, actually, I would say that you're more hated than I am. People like me. They just don't disagree with me or they think I'm insane. But people genuinely, viscerally despise you, Doc. I do not know why that is.
I don't know either, because I'm not that mean. I don't see myself.
And I am mean. I am mean, and people still like me.
What have you done, Donald?
I don't know. I don't know.
He's laid waste to entire swaths of land and put millions of people to the sword. That's what he's done. But yeah, going back to DSA, definitely think that the left, if we get our shit together and if we actually start moving in a united way, and if we actually start two positions that I think that leftists and DSA need to try to get into at their local level is internal organizing, actually training new comrades, and political education, actually educating new comrades. If the right wants to have their little independent fiefdoms of electoral work or labor, that's fine. But I think there's an entree for left into labor too. If we recruit actual proletarians and we actually use a communist labor organizing strategy, I think that will yield results. But we have to be disciplined. We can't just sit and complain and whine about what the right is doing, because the right is going to do what the right wants to do anyways. That's all they know how to do. So we have to demonstrate communist discipline and communist organizing methods. Line struggle happens best when in practice. We have to be able to point to, okay, look at what the right has done. They've lost a bunch of elections. They put us in a budget crisis. They spent like drunken sailors. Now, what does the left have to offer? And I think putting that before the rank and file and actually demonstrating what we have to offer besides noise, I definitely think that there will be good results for the left and DSA.
That's awesome. But so here's another question. What do you think political education looks like for new comrades? What's a way that we can do it that's not super invasive in people's lives, that respects their lives? So, because not everyone can sit down, read all 3 volumes of Das Kapital, et cetera, right?
Yeah. And I think that I wouldn't even say that Das Kapital is entirely necessary for a new communist. No, I mean, you could get I've never read Capital. I got most of my political economy through reading Mao and Lenin. And it's also a really, really good book. It's called Fundamentals of Political Economy, that was released during the Cultural Revolution in China. But the main thing with Americans, Donnie, I was about to say Huey Newton, Huey Newton. I said that Americans are not reading people. So we have to find a way to because it's not implying that people are stupid, but Americans just do not have a thorough, rigorous culture. Go to school in the United States and then go to school in the UK, and you will see a world of difference. The Brits, they're regimented. They will make you learn this shit. Whereas America, it's oh, okay, everybody's a star. So differences in the ways in which pedagogy works. In most of the global South, schools have a radically different and more strict pedagogy than the United States. You go to school in fucking Brazil or Barbados or Mexico, and an average American student would be fucked because it's different. The expectations are different. So I think taking that and developing a uniquely, I wanted to say American, might as well say American, but a unique way of conducting political education. Americans learn best through example. That's why Fred Hampton used so many examples. For example, somebody that has more degrees than a thermometer, he comes in and he doesn't know how to fix my fucking stove. People can relate to that type of shit. Wow. Whereas if you're just standing up giving lectures on capital, that's why people you go to an average trot political education thing, you might have 3 people there, all of which are grad students, 2 of which are fucking each other. So we have to do an actual genuinely mass political education. And I think that can only happen through being able to relate these examples to people. Like, for example, if I was doing political education in among black people, I wouldn't make them read Das Capital because nobody's gonna fucking do it. Autobiography of Malcolm X, Revolutionary Suicide by Huey Newton, like shit we can relate to.
Yeah.
People that wrote like us, Du Bois, throw in some basic Du Bois. Like that's how you get. And then after they've mastered that, then they're ready for other shit.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think also, you know, that's why also developing our media apparatus is so important, right? Because
people get most of their political education from TikTok and YouTube. Like I've had so many people come up to me and be like, bro, if it wasn't for your YouTube videos, I wouldn't want shit to do with Marxism.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
a lot of people in DSA, they hate that, but that's how it is. We're in the digital age. We're in the big year 2025. That's why I laugh at those. That's why I laugh at those trots with the newspapers.
They just don't want to like cope with the reality that like we live in the internet world now, and like
that's why I call them Eloy.
Yeah.
The Morlocks are at the gate, and the Eloy are running around having catered lunches and drinking at bars.
It's like we have to fight the information war on the territory where it's happening, and it's like I think like part of political education is also just like getting that spark lit in people where they like also do start like reading about this stuff on their own, and that is like relating it to their interest, and
that's the hardest and most important part of teaching is inspiring someone to go learn. Because there's only so much information you can just transmit to them by talking at them or writing some shit on the blackboard. It's getting people to actually do it themselves.
Right. And getting people to become critical thinkers and kind of not telling people what to think, but you know, getting people to engage in this stuff on their own and not just.
Well, it's interesting because I think in Americans, especially these days, there's this like hodgepodge where people on the one hand uncritically accept many things. But I think there's also more and more a critical mentality towards orthodoxy. It's maybe not clear. It's mixed in with all kinds of prejudices and the common sense of like ruling class ideology. But now more than ever, I think people see through they see that the ruling class is lying to them. I mean, just did this shit with Israel. The majority of I just casually scroll through YouTube or whatever, and people are like, they're full of shit. It's not necessarily like left-wing channels like CNN or whatever. Like, yeah, this is bullshit. They're lying. So people, I think, are more open than ever, but it's about getting them to be clear about why they don't believe certain things, getting them to think through why they don't believe certain things. And but that's our job, hopefully, right?
Yeah, we got many jobs to do.
خد راحتك على كيفك على راحتك وكيفك على راحتك على كيفك على راحتك.
Hell yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but that food looks fucking good.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, to be honest, it's like fast food, halal.
It is fast food, but I'm kind of hungry right now, so.
Yeah, I'm hungry too.
All right, so looks like you got to get going in.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, soon.
All right.
Anytime, we've been streaming for 2.5 hours. I think, we're pretty much at a good place to stop.
All right.
All right. Thanks for coming on, man. And thanks for.
That was great having you.
Thanks for having me.
This was a good discussion. I think a lot of people are going to get something out of it.
One of my specialties, actually, and I think the only reason why I exist on this earth is to yap. So anytime.
Anytime, man. Thanks for coming on, comrade.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you, comrade. You take care.
You as well.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Wow, we had a lot of viewers.
Yeah, no, I think we broke our record today. 1,500. Not 15,000, but 1,500.
Well, thanks good. To BRG. Yeah, thanks to BRG.
Thanks for bringing the masses to CosmoCast.
Yeah. So I guess let's close things out. I mean, it was a good
I think next week we're going to be talking about the Zoran campaign. I think the primary results will have come in by then.
Wait, so, what? Can you repeat? Sorry. Can you repeat that, homie?
Yeah, I think next week the plan is to talk about the Zoran campaign. And, I think by then the primary results will have come in, so we will know if he is going to be running for mayor of New York City.
Mm-hmm.
If he is, then I guess we'll be able to look at his successes. If not, then we'll be able to look at his failures and see what went wrong. But either way, I think we'll be able to have an interesting discussion. Hopefully,
Listen, we'll have to be clear also on what we mean by success, right? Because
right.
Maybe our goal isn't to run New York right now. I mean, I don't think
Right, exactly. But,
we can't run New York. But yeah, we'll definitely be talking about those results. Thanks for. No, yeah, go on, homie.
I was going to say, yeah, this war will also be. I will see where this war is at in a week as well. So yeah,
we'll see how that goes. Well, thanks to everyone for joining in. Let people know about Cosmocast. This is the stream of Cosmonaut Magazine. Check out Cosmonaut Magazine at cosmonautmagazine.com. I think that's what it's called, right? Or just Google us. Share all of that with your friends. We have a Patreon. If you want to support us, any amount is helpful in building revolutionary mass media. We're trying to lay the groundwork for that. We thank you for joining, and we hope that you will tune in every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time, for discussion on weekly events or things less topical. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy, and let's play a little Ho Chi Minh.
I don't joke. When I provoke, I take it out on the townsfolk. Motherfuckers will suffer and smother for my downstroke. Sever the head of a wannabe clever sucker rated X for extra local crazy.